Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Dyer's Place. And tonight I have with me, as always, Mike.
Mike? Yes.
Mike, yes. And returning for another stream, Eugene. You still with us, Eugene?
Eugene.
Hello.
Ah,
oh, okay, there you are.
Okay.
Sorry, I went to get some water while I was waiting.
Actually, I did the same. I was worried I'd be, I get lost in the way to the fridge. Somehow.
I guess I'm the only one that can hear the music. Except for anyone who's watching and listening. And I see Snarb is here.
Hey, Snarb.
Yo, what up?
Excellent, excellent. Well, as you can tell, tonight we are talking about the Twilight Zone. And Sharon's here too.
Hey, Sharon, what up?
Sorry to disappoint you, Snarb. This will not be a 3-hour discussion on the Big People episode.
I mean, I don't know. If this was like a regular podcast we did, we could do like one episode per, but that's obviously not the operation we're going for, so...
Yep.
One of my friends who's a fabulous artist and a huge Twilight Zone fan has done some really incredible Twilight Zone Halloween costumes over the years. And one year he was one of the pig people, and one year he decided to also do one of the masks from the Masks episode. You know
nice.
The one I'm talking about. Yeah.
For
Another favorite. Nice.
As you can tell, that particular episode's been represented on the background here.
Yeah. Yeah, to note, I guess I should run through this. Of course, Rod Serling himself, Rob Serling, if you will. Eugene is Burgess Meredith from Time Enough at Last. I'm, of course, Billy Mooney from It's a Good Life. Down there is the Howling Man to Serve Man. Is that the episode where they go back in time with the dinosaurs?
Odyssey of Flight 33? No. The next one after that is The Last Flight.
Shit, I confused those two. My bad. But yes, they both have planes. So I guess it's a fair confusion. But yeah, the one with Robert Redford is death. The one where William Shatner sees a gremlin on the plane. There's the pig face. Room for One More, Dear, and Death's Head Revisit. Oh, that's
not Death's Head Revisited.
Fuck. I'm sorry, stupid YouTube isn't making the image so clear.
Screenshots are like all over.
Which one is that then at the end?
Screenshots are like all over. That one is...
I can't even see it because it's covered up by the thumbnail for some reason.
Yeah, that too.
That's the 30 Fathom grave now at the end.
Oh,
gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting thing is, and I'm sure we'll go into this at some point, but like back when I finally got like a box set of all of the episodes on DVD, I suddenly realized that there are way more episodes of the Twilight Zone than you probably thought. Right? There's like 163 episodes, I think, and probably most people came to the series, I think, of a certain age through the marathons. Like it was on WPIX when I was a kid, and then eventually it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. But those would only ever show like maybe the same, like 40 or 50 episodes, the best ones, like the ones that people remember, and almost none of the hour-long episodes. So it was like mind-blowing to me that there are hour-long episodes of the Twilight
Interesting
Zone.
You mentioned that, yes.
But we're probably jumping ahead.
I was almost about to, but you say what you want. I'll clam up for now.
Well, just to say, like, it's interesting because, like, you've picked some iconic episodes, but we still also, there are episodes here that, like, I probably need to jog my memory on like what they're referring to, like which one that was, and once I hear a little bit about it, it'll come to mind. But there's the same. There's like all the ones that have been parodied so many times over the years. Certainly on the Simpsons, and various other places, Futurama. Everybody knows those ones, but there's like so many more episodes that are really good ones that people never see.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of crappy ones, which are unfortunate.
Yeah, it is what it is. Murphy's Law and whatnot.
Before we kick things off, though, I just want to go ahead and read a little poetry, if you don't mind.
I guess I don't mind.
What about you, Mike?
No, go ahead. Do what you need to. You're the boss here, so.
Damn right. A pleasant-faced man steps up to greet you. He smiles and says he's pleased to meet you. Beneath his hat, the strangeness lies. Take it off, he's got 3 eyes. Truth is false and logic lost. Now the 4th dimension is crossed. You have entered the Twilight Zone. Beyond this world, strange things are known. Use the key, unlock the door. See what your fate might have in store. Come explore your dream's creation. Enter this world of imagination.
I know those lyrics. I'm pretty sure I do.
If you were going to say it's from the Twilight Zone by Rush off their 1976 album 2112, you'd be correct.
Well, yeah, that's funny enough. That's probably for Rush being as huge a band they are, that's probably the lesser known song based on the Twilight Zone.
They only performed it live maybe once or twice.
It's one I like quite a bit. It's an underrated cut from 2112's B-sides, I think.
Yeah, and on top of that, they were obviously huge Twilight Zone fans. I know Caress of Steel, they thanked Rod Serling at one point. And
nice.
I know that the Twilight Zone itself was dedicated to his memory because he died by then.
Oh, yeah, not too long ago from there.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So, but yes. So I just did the first verse and the chorus there.
Nice.
Anyway. Well, let's see. Well, before we get into actually really talking about episodes, I think it would be a fair question to ask what our first exposure to the series was. And Eugene, since you're the special guest here tonight, I think you should go first.
Well, I already. First of all, thank you for bringing me on. I'm glad I ran into in the chat the other night because it was a Great Way North's stream.
Yeah, it was.
And Dyer was saying he was getting ready for the weekend stream. So I was like, "What are you streaming? What are you chatting about?" And he started quoting the Twilight Zone intro. And I was like, "I know you are not doing a podcast about the Twilight Zone without me." And I do happen to. Well, I probably should be writing right now, but I had to free myself up for this because this is one of it is probably my favorite show ever. And like as I alluded to earlier, I'm pretty sure I discovered it on WPIX channel 11 with my local New York station when I was a kid, running the New Year's marathons, and I think they also did it at the 4th of July. And so I would always see like the same episodes, over and over again. And I don't know if I ever saw it outside of those opportunities. They probably had reruns on occasionally. But I pretty much those were the times that I really managed to catch it. And it wasn't until many, many years later when there was like a proper like box set of all the episodes that I finally sat down and like got to watch all of them like one after the other. But it's incredibly, for a kid, I was very much into science fiction at the time, growing up, and it was just mind blowing, and clearly left like a huge impression on me, both on the stories that I continue to enjoy, and the stories that I write. I mentioned to Dyer, my first novel has multiple Twilight Zone references in it, and it's always kind of risky, kind of including pop culture stuff, and dating your books. But since it was a young adult novel, I had to kind of introduce it as a show that one of the kids like dads was really into, and had all these episodes on VHS so that the kid would be aware of the show, because I wasn't sure. Like I think it's pretty timeless, and I think kids are probably still being introduced to it, but it's harder and harder since it's pretty much relegated to like cable, although maybe it's on some of the streaming channels now.
Also, speaking of Great White North, hey Great White North.
GW.
Hey, what up?
Hey, what's up, Jay?
Hey, sir.
Thanks for sharing.
Indeed.
And also, hello, Sharon.
Yeah,
so thanks for sharing.
So, let's see. Speaking of which, she says here, she knows the mannequin episode, which was our mom's favorite episode.
That's funny enough. I think that's my mom's favorite episode too, or one of them anyway.
I thought you said that her favorite episode was the one with the little devil's head thing.
Wait, no, I'm getting confused. No, the After Hours. Yeah, I remember now. The After Hours was the one that scared her shitless as a kid. Actually, I must be a shared DNA trait or whatever. But I also found mannequins really goddamn scary as a kid myself. So it fits well enough. But it is one of her favorites at least. So yeah.
The only mannequin I never found scary was the one that was played by Kim Cattrall, I think.
In Mannequin, the movie Mannequin.
Exactly.
Oh.
I worked in the building. I worked in the building that had the mall that was in that film. So I worked in the Wanamaker building for many years
Nice.
when I was working at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And it's a Macy's. It was a Macy's. I think the Macy's recently shut down. It has a huge organ there as well, like one of the world's largest and still functional organs. But I think they actually did an event with Andrew McCarthy while I was there because he had a book that had just come out. But it was kind of just wild for me to be like, oh yeah, I work in the building where they filmed Mannequin.
Nice. Hey, Brandon. On a similar note, do either of you watch Stranger Things at all?
Oh yes.
I didn't get around to season 4 yet, but okay. I do have the first 3 under my belt.
You've both seen season 3. You know the Starcourt Mall?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I worked there.
Really?
Holy crap!
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, it's actually.
I was about to make some comments. I don't want to spoil that last season.
No. But we can talk about Stranger Things another time. But no, the Starcourt Mall was actually a mall I used to work in. Long before they used it as a shooting location.
Wow.
So, yes, it's a cookbook.
Yep.
Oh, well, anyway.
I think the chat is all going to be like the spoilers for quote spoilers for this like ancient series.
Yeah, sound them off. You all know all of them by now, I'm sure.
Oh, really? Well, look at the cover of this book. Oh, there's some space dust on here you didn't blow off. And there's even more space dust.
How to cook for 40 humans.
Exactly. Well, now you've made Sarah prepare her cry.
All right. Never saw that character again.
Nope. All right, Mike.
Wow.
So what about you? What was your first exposure to the Twilight Zone?
I'm a tyro. Most of what I have seen has been those aforementioned marathons that Eugene has mentioned. I mean, back when I did have cable, I have long since ditched that since I don't use it much and money reasons. But I'm ashamed to admit I mostly only know most of the famous ones for the most part. Like a month or two ago, I meant to binge and catch up, but my mental capacity for viewing any long-form series now has degraded into severe poop in my mid-30s, so that unfortunately fizzled out pretty quick, but I should really get back on the trolley. Nonetheless, though, I have been watching Twilight Zone for a long time, and even if my knowledge is kind of basic bitchy, I can still, I think, talk a good deal about most of the beloved episodes of this series, although one of my favorites is not often, I feel, identified as one that would... Like, my absolute favorite is one that I don't think would instantly be identified as, like, one of the ones that's stuck in everyone's public conscious, but, we'll get around to that in due time. But, yeah, I mean... At the risk of sounding like a young punk, I haven't watched nearly enough media from this era, from the late 50s to the early 60s, where everything was still black and white. That's not like a, black and white is boring thing. I'm young, my attention span is terrible. I mean, that is part of it, but I don't turn away black and white just for being black and white. So, but nonetheless, yes. But nonetheless, I still haven't viewed as much media from this time as I could have, except for the Twilight Zone, which, what do I even say about its appeal? I feel that, it's just obvious enough that a series about, like, where anything and everything can happen, and what happens are, like, the ultimate morality plays, all sorts of commentary on the foolishness of man and what drives us and what's, the great beyond and whatever, crazy questions that Rod asked.
Even if they're funny.
Yeah. I mean, there are some definite comedy episodes, but I feel like most people somewhat erroneously pass this off as a horror series. Not that there isn't horror present. A lot of episodes were effectively creepy for their time and to an extent still are today, but it's, I don't know, it's just such an inherently entertaining program that's just hard to break away from once it really gets going. So,
yes, this is true.
But I'm sure you guys know more about it than I do. It's weird because I actually suggested this as a topic that we tackle. Like, this is somewhat my idea, and yet I'm probably the one who has the least experience with it. So I'm just going to give myself one of these for opening that hit.
You just want to find out more about the show without doing the homework.
That's what it is.
That might also be part of it, yes.
You got to watch every episode 10 times,
and then
read the books,
and then the movie, and then the 85 series.
Do I have to write a personal letter to John Landis about how I thought it wasn't his fault?
If you really
okay,
want
that's
to.
Terrible. That's I'm just gonna I'm sorry.
Okay, on that note, then. It says, Snarb here says, if we're talking episodes that really disturb us, the one where the music file slowly goes deaf to music freaked me out.
That does sound horrifying. Unfortunately, I don't think I know that one.
I don't actually recall it myself.
I'm trying to remember that one. There's got to be... Do you remember? You don't remember the episode title for that. I remember that.
Let's see.
That does sound like horror, though.
Indeed.
Yeah, I admit, out of all the episodes that exist, I've probably seen about 75% of them.
It might.
I have seen every single one. Yeah, I was wondering if you were thinking of the Outer Limits, because I think those shows get conflated quite a bit. And Outer Limits,
yeah, they do.
Felt much more like horror to me than the Twilight Zone.
And unfortunately, I know dick about the Outer Limits, so I'm no help there.
Do not attempt to adjust your television set.
We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. I have seen every episode at least once. There are some episodes I probably have only seen once. Like I said, I got the DVD set. I was kind of dedicated to like watching every single episode. Many of them for the first time, and I think that a lot of that coincided with when my son was born. So it was 10 years ago, and it was just it was something I could put on like while I was feeding him or just sitting up with him. Something short and well, unless you get to the hour-long episodes. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably much more familiar with the ones that everyone has seen like multiple times.
Before I go on to what my first exposure was, Mike, fun fact. You said you know nothing about the Outer Limits, right?
I don't really. Like, the barest of minimums, if anything.
Well, you know the opening, though, right?
Yeah, it's like these radio waves or whatever.
And you hear some dude talking, which Eugene and I were just quoting.
Yeah. That's I at least.
That's Vic.
Vic Perrin.
Perrin, right?
Oh, that's Baylock, is it?
No, Nomad.
Fuck. Right.
And he was also the dude on the planet Mirror Mirror.
That's right. There is of course quite a bit of crossover. Well, enough crossover, I think, with Star Trek in this series. At least one. Well, technically two very famous examples, but if there's any others that you want to note, definitely do so.
Well, it's amazing seeing how many actors worked on both shows as guest stars and whatnot.
Yes, definitely. And Brandon, I believe that's The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. That is a great one. That is...
I just watched that today, actually. It's not quite The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, because at the end, the rioting just continued, and the aliens were all like, yeah, see, we just do this stuff, and they destroy themselves. And we'll just do it with every street and every town, and ha 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 ha.
Wait, racism. That wouldn't be I Am the Night, Color Me Black, would it?
It's possible. There definitely wasn't any racist stuff going on in Maple Street.
There was an episode where everyone was trying to get into like the shelter. One guy had a shelter, and everybody in the neighborhood kept trying to get into it. And I think that might be this. I'm trying to remember which one that one was.
We ain't got any shelterinis.
Yep, I think we found out where that was parodied from.
Yep.
All right. Well,
I think it was called The Shelter. I'm looking it up in my book right now. It could actually have just been called The Shelter.
Well, damn.
It was. Yeah. Some of the episode titles were not that inspired. Yeah, I think that's the one you're thinking about, Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon. Now, as far as my initial exposure to Twilight Zone, it was long before they started running these marathons. I distinctly remember being at a friend's house sometime in the early 80s, and this episode came on. I'd never seen anything like this before. It was just a short story. So I'm immediately intrigued by it, And it was about these criminals who just stolen a whole bunch of gold and decided they were going to go ahead and, preserve themselves for 100 years so they could avoid getting captured and jailed. And the twist ending on that one was just a delight. But the episode in question was called The Rip Van Winkle Caper.
Right.
Oh, hey.
Mm-hmm.
I somewhat know that one. I think Snarp said that he liked that one as well, or... Oh, I don't know, though. Admittedly, some of these are probably going to run together, and, some episodes did have similar themes, like, a lot of them took place in the Old West. A lot of them had to do with the military, Of course, obviously, there are some shows that hit on that, because World War II hadn't even ended, 20 years ago then. Right. It was still very fresh in everyone's mind, so a lot of that was still topical, and there was a lot of, if you don't remember this, you're doomed to repeat it, and, of course, humans suck.
Time travel and contact with aliens. And
space a lot of speculation there. The space race was probably hanging over there as well, but, all that.
Once we had tiny UFOs in a woman's attic.
Yep. I like the ones that just threw everything at you. It'd be like, please bring the car round back for Mr. Clyde Smith. He's a gambler.
Oh yeah.
And he's about to have an unfortunate accident. And when he wakes up, he's in a casino where he never loses. He must be in heaven.
Wait, a casino where I always win? That's boring. I must be in hell!
No, Mr. Smith, you're not in heaven or hell. You're on an airplane.
Everyone, there's a gremlin on the wing!
Why should we believe you? You're Hitler.
Hey, everyone, help me! Saw it coming.
Yeah. Of course, now we're talking about the Scary Door, Futurama's parody of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Turns
out it's man.
Yeah. That one is just this little stinger at the end of one episode. Or the one where the guy creates a robot to do everything for him.
Mm-hmm.
But the Mr. Smith one was my favorite. But what was the other one? Oh, yeah, the parody of Time Enough at Last.
Time Enough at Last. He's like, oh no, my glasses. Well, I can still read the large print books. And then his eyes fall out. He's like, good thing I learned how to read Braille. And then his hands fall off.
He screams and his tongue falls out. And then his head falls off, and he's like, "Hey, look at that weird mirror."
Done in by his own hubris.
Smart found sounds and silences. Is that a? Let me look that one up real quick here.
I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know what that.
I'm sure
I am.
Sounds and silences. Okay, let me see. Maybe if I see a picture, it'll remind me of what that is.
It was a pretty late episode. It was.
Oh, that's probably it's the 5th season one. Oh, okay. This guy. Okay.
Oh shit!
Recognize the actor.
I do not think I have seen this one, but I will have to check it out. Well, eventually I have to check them all out. I mean, I will go on that eventual marathon at some point. I
don't know these later episodes very well. Well, except for Living Doll. So for folks reference, I'm referring to the Twilight Zone companion by Mark Scott Zicree. Which I know there's been a couple revised versions of it. This is a complete show-by-show guide to one of the greatest television series ever. And my edition was published in 1982, and I found it at a used bookshop, a shop that had used books and records and Laserdiscs in New York City some years back, called Griffin Bookshops, and I don't think they're still there. It was one of those great places where you go and like nothing is really organized. So you just kind of stumble across things on the shelves, and it's just serendipity. So I discover. So I still have the bookmark from that shop inside the book, and that's also where I think I got like the prisoner guide. It was this big hardcover book just going into the whole history of the prisoner, which is another series maybe you guys should cover at some point.
Nice. I know very little about the prisoner, so.
Oh my gosh, it's only 17 episodes, and it's such a notorious series because that people. I don't know how much you know about the prisoner, but people like rioted over the last episode because the whole question in the series is like, who's doing this? It's this guy named Number 6, played by Patrick McGowan, and it was people kind of saw it as a sort of sequel to his series Danger Man because he played a very similar character and they never say his name on the prisoner, so you could kind of think that it's the same person. But he just wakes up on it. He tries to resign from his post, but he doesn't say why. And so then he wakes up on an island, and they're trying to tease out like why did he try to resign from being a secret agent? And they play all these mind games on him, and he keeps trying to escape. And this is the show where you get that giant white balloon rover on the beach. Like when he tries to escape from the beach, this giant balloon appears and attacks him. And drags him in. This show is such another classic series. Yeah, and it's like this is a weird show. It's such a weird show, and I swear there's a parody of it on the animated series Reboot. If you've ever seen Reboot, there's a whole episode. I think it's called like number 17 or number 7 or something like that. But it's a whole parody of The Prisoner. I'm like, who is this for? Like, wow. I'm the only weird kid who's seen The Prisoner before. Like, but it was amazing. It's an amazing thing. And like, it's just, they hit point after point after point from that show. Anyway, you need to watch it. It's only 17 episodes. Hey, Zombie. Oh, The Prisoner's your favorite show? Awesome. But the last episode was supposed to have answers, like who's doing this to him, like what was the secret and everything, and people did not like the answer.
There wasn't really much of one, was there?
Well, it was very abstract. It was very, very ambiguous, but also like very polarizing. And there's actually, I believe, a canonical graphic novel that follows up afterwards that kind of finishes the story in a slightly more satisfying way that I think Patrick McGowan was involved with, at least in the story writing, or he gave it his blessing or something like that. But anyway, it's such a great show. Like, you need to watch it.
All right. I got to greet Zombie the way I usually do whenever I see him on the stream. So everyone cover your ears for a second.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Zombie!
I was tempted to put the headphones over the microphone to see what would happen.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Twilight Zone's your favorite show. Okay, so you hate The Prisoner. I get it.
I didn't expect we turned this into a The Prisoner stream, but I guess we'll have to do one of those.
It's a different thing.
Yeah. Most of what I know was from that one Simpsons episode that just full-scale parodied it in the third act. I know a lot of people hate that episode, but it was interesting.
There were a lot of Treehouse of Horror episodes that were basically riffs on Twilight Zone episodes.
Oh, yeah, no, there's one that just was a straight-up a more wholesome version of It's a Good Life.
You'd say it was more wholesome?
Vaguely.
Are you talking about the Treehouse of Horror segment?
Mm-hmm.
It's not me, Doc. It's the air conditioner. All right. So, I think since we have a pretty good little crowd in here, it's probably time to start talking about some episodes.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, before we do, can I just say how... No. I'm going somewhere good with this.
Oh, okay.
I just
We'll
felt
be the
that...
judge of that.
I just felt that we should acknowledge the man himself, Rod Serling, the creator of the series, who is actually a very identifiable face with it because, and I don't know how common this was for programs at the time, but he famously always narrates an intro on them that gives you an idea of the character that you're going to be following and what situation that they get into. And, like, how often did shows do that? Like, would the show be as famous as it is without Rod actually appearing in it? Or, like, I just feel he's just such an integral element to every episode, just setting up the dominoes and really adding to the idea that these are lessons that that have to be told and learned and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, welcome, CM. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, CM, hey.
Hey, CM, no, we haven't gotten that far yet.
We'll probably get into that soon.
Of course, this also reminds me of another Twilight Zone parody from a music video.
Oh? What's that?
Try my how it goes. Submitted for your approval. A busload of tourists on a road the travel agent never told them about. A road leading to the shadowy tip of nowhere, to the land of the different, the bizarre, the unexplainable. They thought they were headed for fun in the sun. Not quite. These visitors are trying to go home again, but where they're headed is another dimension entirely. Fasten your seatbelts, signpost up ahead, as we take a turn into the Sunlight Zone. That is how David Lee Roth opened his video for California Girls.
Wow, that's not where I was expecting that to go.
And at the end, when the song is fading out, he's like, "For you, the viewer, this is the end of the video. But for them, it is only the beginning."
Okay, that's pretty good.
So that's a fair point. I'm not sure if the show would have succeeded without him, but you could say that the fact that there have been multiple reboots without him suggests that maybe he was an integral part of it, both the creative vision behind it and as sort of the face of it. I mean, there've been many imitators, but although the 80s show did not have an on-screen narrator, I believe. I think it only had sort of like a voiceover, right?
Yeah, that's all it was. But I do.
But then they tried to bring him back they tried to bring back like an in-person narrator for the UPN revival with Forrest Whitaker, and then the Jordan Peele series that was out more recently.
Yeah. One thing I do want to note about the 85 series, though, if you watch the intro, and if you're watching close enough, you will actually catch a glimpse of Rod.
They do have, like, in some of the visualers or something, like, I think there's...
Exactly,
is he in, like, in a TV is he in a TV or something?
It is more like some sort of, like, mist that appeared, I think.
Okay.
But my... Yeah, I will say I know very little of the following series. This will 95% be on the 50/60 series, but I mean, Robin tends to dip into those a little bit, I think.
Well, that was the Twilight Zone, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
Was the 80s show called the Twilight Zone, or was it just called Twilight Zone? Because that might be an interesting distinction.
It was the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. I don't know. I remember watching it like while it was on, when it was contemporary, and I've seen some episodes after the fact, but I have not made the effort to watch every episode, and I think that show lent a lot towards horror more often than the original series did. It's also really hard to watch. Like, it's just so the original series was shot on film for I think, except for like 3 episodes, and black and white, of course.
Right.
And it just hasn't like it's dated, I suppose, because it's monochrome, but it feels more timeless than like watching stuff from the 80s that was clearly shot on VHS or video and broadcast, and hasn't been remastered in the same way. So the 80s show is kind of painful for me to actually watch. Like, it just looks really bad.
Physically, gotcha.
I can
That's
tell
fair.
you, I got a lot of fond memories of the 80s show because after seeing the handful of original series Twilight Zone that I did, my parents found out this was coming out, and we started watching that on a regular basis along with Amazing Stories.
Cool.
Oh, Amazing Stories was amazing.
Yeah. Love the intro theme to that.
Yeah. But I don't remember many of the 80s series except for, I think the one that I remember most clearly is The Button.
Button,
I think it was called The Button, but it was they also made it into a movie more than a few years back, but it was the episode where somebody brings a button, like a door-to-door salesman says, like, here's this button, if you push this button you'll get like $1 million or whatever, but somebody in the world will die, and so you push the button or not, right? And that was based on a short story by Richard Matheson, who wrote a lot of the original series episodes. Anyway, it's so that one is very, very memorable.
I know the ones I remember the most are episodes like Her Pilgrim Soul and Profile in Silver.
Yeah, I keep meaning to watch. I just need to get the DVDs or find where they're streaming at some point, because they had a lot of like, I know Harlan Ellison, I think, worked on the series, and maybe did George R. R. Martin do any of those? I know he did some of the Outer Limits episodes, like the revival of the Outer Limits.
I don't
which I think is probably a better show. But,
No idea.
Anyway, back to the 50s, 60s rather. Yeah, it's just but to say, I would say, like, there were so many elements of that original series that just, even though other shows have tried to replicate it, they have not been able to capture the magic of it. Following the same format hasn't worked. Trying to have a similar narrator hasn't worked. And is it because of the writers? Is it because it was Rod Serling? Is it because of the time that it came out in? It's fascinating, and even looking like, so you didn't watch much of that UPN series, but they did actual, like, they actually reshot certain episodes. They did a 90s version of Eye of the Beholder that has, like, essentially the same script and newer actors, and it's all in color. And it's just not as effective. Like,
No.
And they did sequels to things. So there's, like, we had It's a Good Life, and they did It's Still a Good Life with Bill Mumy as an adult, and his mom is still there, and he has a daughter who has his power. Wasn't
it played by his actual daughter, Lily?
I believe it was actually his daughter.
I remember reading about this, yeah.
They did a sequel to the Monsters Are Due on Maple Street called Monsters Are on Maple Street. And it was like a modern day allegory at the time, because this was like around 9/11 of, like, Muslim sentiment,
AKA the event that ruined Star Trek Enterprise.
So it was like it's very interesting, because, like, the show in the 60s, I think, maybe was so effective because even though it was clearly, it was better couched as escapism versus other attempts, which are like, no, you're clearly being lectured to right now. This is a morality play, and we're not even pretending it's anything but that. And it may or may not be entertaining, right? But the Twilight Zone was entertaining. It was like, oh crap, did I just learn something? Or why did that make me feel this way? Like, it was sneaky because he had to get it past the censors, right? The networks. And but once everybody knows what the Twilight Zone is, then the Twilight Zone has to hit you over the head with everything and beat a dead horse, with everything to get its point across.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, some series can some things can maybe rightfully be called down as being too preachy, but why I think that, like, I make a double standard for the Twilight Zone, but Maybe it's just because it's so, straightforward about what it's teaching. Like, the morality element is the real core of the series. Like, if they didn't have something to tell you, then the stories in question wouldn't be as memorable. And honestly, I appreciate that. Well, maybe not every episode had such a point to it, but I do think that is what drives the core of the series on the whole. And like, if these episodes didn't have a point to them, I think they just exist for, like, I don't know, shock value. Like, they're just there to creep you out or unsettle you.
Yeah, and I think
certainly there's a time and a place for works like that, but Twilight Zone is very obviously not about that, which is why I think Rod appears in every episode, because he has something that he wants to tell you, that he wants to explain, and that's just, it goes hand in hand. It was
his passion for the stories and his desire to raise awareness of them and address them that made the show so good, and everything else has just been kind of like mimicking it. It's like, okay, well, now I'm going to tell a Twilight Zone story, which means, okay, we're going to comment on, current events or some social issues, and we're going to have some, weird twist, and, it's going to be, dark and disturbing or whatever. And it's like, yes, those are the pieces of it, but you're maybe missing the passion. And I feel like the 90s, like the UPN series was more missed than hit, but the Jordan Peele series had some really interesting ideas and was really powerful, but I think that the format just didn't work for it. Like, I don't think the Twilight Zone works as an hour-long thing. Even the original series, it did not work as an hour-long thing. Like, it has to be shorter and just like more concise. Like, you can see them like struggling to fill the time.
Yeah, I don't know if we should get into the anomaly of season 4 now, or if that's jumping the gun over what Rob wanted to get to first. I don't know. What do you think?
Before we do anything, hey, Eris, how's it going?
Hey, Eris, what up?
Hey, Eris. Yeah, Zombie's making some interesting points here, too. Well, let's hit some of these in the chat. Let's see. CM says, I'd say the show content visually plus script is timeless. Something about the writing is applicable to most any time period. That's true. I think if you were to look just the words, the stories are still very effective. And there actually were some collections of Twilight Zone stories that were taken from the episodes and just like written out in prose. And obviously many of the episodes were adaptations of short stories by like Richard Matheson and other writers of the time. And those stories, yes, are still I think very effective. But yeah, absolutely, I think that the language, the cinematics, like shows in the 50s and 60s, I think were much more cinematic than they are now, because they were still kind of in that transition of like, movies to television, right? Yeah. And plays. Like Rod Serling's like origins were in writing, teleplays, like movies for television, and then also writing like essentially, plays like Playhouse 90s stuff. Back in the day, where they would do like live performances on the East Coast and then redo it for the West Coast, because they weren't recording it, or they weren't simulcasting it or whatever. They weren't just airing the same thing. So he has like a different language, like a different way of telling the stories in a more sort of theatrical, both cinematic and stage play way, I think, that haven't really carried over to any of the other attempts.
Yeah.
Right. That's a fair way of putting it. And also, I can just flatly, blankly, maybe even stupidly say, entertainment sucks more now than it did back then, by cracky. But that's just me being an asshole.
I mean,
I don't want to make such a sweeping statement, but Zombie is not wrong in that we live in the ages of loud noises and big booms rather than good storytelling.
I will say that, I'm going to say that I know there are a lot of really good shows on television right now, but I will say that I think that the time that the Twilight Zone came out in, and for a brief period in the 80s, was when you had anthology shows like this. Anthology shows are really hard to do now, I think.
Yeah.
But like Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, of course, and some of the other shows, like it was much more common in that era. And then in the 80s, and I guess early 90s, there was a weird kind of resurgence of things like that, with like Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters and even the Friday the 13th show and the Nightmare on Elm Street tie-in shows. Those were all like, they had some of the same characters, but they were all like sort of anthology series about like this one-off character, this actor, this sometimes a celebrity of the week in some episode, and then like there haven't been many other attempts to do that.
Don't forget Tales from the Crypt either.
Oh yeah,
Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the closest thing I've seen to that is something like American Horror Story, which was kind of, and even some of the Mike Flanagan things that have been coming out, where you see a lot of the same actors, but they're playing different roles with a different story, and those are for like season long, like 10 episode, seasons.
Also, okay, there, Eugene. It sounds like you just gasped a bit of air.
I'm still getting over whatever weird infection I had.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry about that. Then
that's okay. Damn. It just means I'm talking too much, so I'm gonna quiet for a little bit.
No worries, no worries.
Well, I know it's also Zombie mentioned that Bill Mumy was in Lost in Space, which just leads me to say, danger, Will Robinson, danger.
That's a series where that line's like the only fucking thing I know about.
The pain
of it all.
That too. Pop culture. There are some tidbits of pop culture from back then that only exist in their basis form to me now, and I could really do to get more on them. Like I said, there's more stuff from the 50s and 60s that's almost a blank spot for me that I really need to get more upon, and that's on me. But
you should watch more I Love Lucy.
I really should. Yes, I definitely should. You're not wrong.
Have you done an I Love Lucy episode yet?
Oh, we have not.
Yeah, because I know almost dick about it, except for that one episode where she was terrible at making sweets on the conveyor belt or whatever. That's like maybe the most famous episode or one of the most famous.
Definitely
so, like I said, really,
she didn't have to make them. She just had to box them.
Yes,
she had one job,
and she wasn't even good at that.
Her and Ethel both.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I think personally the most famous one she did was the one where she got drunk doing the commercial.
Vitamita Vegemin?
Yep.
That sounds fun.
Or as the episode's titled, Lucy does a TV commercial. Man, I grew up watching that show, so.
All right, you just need to watch like a sampling of episodes, Mike, and then you'll be good to go for a podcast. I'm sure Rob can give you like a top 20 or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hey, sounds good.
So,
Okie dokers.
All right. Maybe now we should go ahead and do what everyone's been waiting for. A list of our favorite episodes.
A list?
Yeah.
Is this a list you were sending that I didn't look at?
Well, if you want to look at that list. I didn't add anything to
it. Let me pull that up. I didn't add anything to it, I don't think.
You can see the ones that Mike and I wanted to talk about the most. And not every episode's represented here.
Yeah. No, I just mentioned the ones that I, for the most part, know and are fairly famous. Like 90% of these, I'm sure, are those that were covered in the marathon. So again, most basic knowledge that you can get, but still, I think it's a decent point to start upon, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of these I'll need a refresher on what they are because I recognize the titles, but I can't immediately connect them to. What are these initials? What does this mean?
Well,
this is who recommended it, or
yeah, either that we wanted to really talk about this episode back when it was just gonna be the two of us doing this.
Gotcha.
Or for instance, I added a bunch of episodes.
Some of my favorites are on here, so it's all good.
So go ahead and list whichever ones you want.
They're already on here. I mean,
well, yeah,
but, you like vocally?
Yeah, we're the only ones that can see it.
So, yeah, no, of course. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to start. Nick of Time is definitely one of my favorite ones. I was talking about Dyer because that Mike originally had the little. It was the one where William Shatner and his new wife, their car breaks down. They walk into a diner, and they're sitting there to wait for the car to be repaired. And he's also been waiting to hear about whether he got a promotion or not. And they have this little devil. This like a fortune telling machine on the table, and he keeps feeding pennies into this thing, asking it questions at the risk of getting stuck there. Anyway, I'm not sure if we're supposed to talk about the actual episodes, but that one, A Penny for Your Thoughts, is one of my favorite ones, and that's one of the ones I specifically referenced in my first novel, which was about It was the novel is about a kid who finds a coin, and when he flips the coin and makes a wish, his wish comes true if it lands on heads. And then if it lands on tails, then it comes true, but with like a creepy monkey's paw aspect to it. So while they're trying to figure out what's going on with this coin, his friend is mentioning the Twilight Zone episodes, because it's like, oh, there's an episode about a weird quarter, right? Because it's like in that episode, Penny for Your Thoughts, he flips a quarter and it lands on its side, and as long as it's standing on its edge, he can hear other people's thoughts, it was Darren from Bewitched.
Yeah, Dick York, right?
Dick York, right?
Not Dick Sargent.
So that one,
okay.
Dick Sargent. I'm sorry, yeah.
No, it was Dick York who was in the Twilight Zone episode. Yes.
But so those are definitely like two of my favorite ones. But there's a lot. Walking Distance is a great one.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad I actually saw that one. I did at least get up to that in my marathon, and I'm glad I did, because it's definitely an interesting. It's not the only episode that touches upon nostalgia and remembering things, quote unquote, as they were, but it was the first and one of the most prominent to really hammer on that, I think. And
Zombie says, I want one of those napkin holders, fortune tellers. Now, I've gone so far as to look for replicas of it. People have made them based off of like screen accurate replicas of it. The only thing that I have is a bobblehead that came out many years ago of this thing that comes with a bunch of little cards that have answers on them. And unfortunately, over the course of two kids, it's fallen on hard times. The head is popped off, and like one of the horns is chipped, and so I got to get a replacement for it. But and it's black and white. Like they made, somebody did make a color version of it, but this one was they made these Twilight Zone bobbleheads that were all like black and white. So it's one of my favorite little tchotchkes.
Nice. I see. Zombie also wrote that Desilu was instrumental in launching the Twilight Zone.
That does sound right, yes.
Lucy she gave us so much.
Yep.
I mean, look, I love Lucy, Twilight Zone, Star Trek, Mission Impossible. So much. Thank you, Lucy. Wherever you are.
All that, yes.
We love you, Lucy.
Yes.
Hence the name.
Mm-hmm. Trying to see if there's anything on here that you guys didn't mention, but I'll think about it some more.
Okay. Dead air. Dead air.
Thank you, Strong Bed.
Sorry, I'm being a jerk.
Midnight Sun, man. That's see. This is one of those shows where you look at a list like this that you guys can't see, but you look at a list of episodes, and you're just like, oh, that episode. I love that episode. It's so hard to narrow down,
it really is. I mean, it doesn't help / hurt.
Season 4 is very short. I noticed. Season 4 is very short. A lot of episodes. The Lost Girl, I think, is also one that I really like, which I don't think is on here. But I was alluding to it because I just put my daughter down to bed. But Little Girl Lost, I think it was, where nightmare for parents. This girl disappears from her bedroom, but her dad can hear her crying.
Oh, that's the one that was referenced in The Simpsons, wasn't it?
That was on The Simpsons.
Dimension.
Yeah, that was on
third dimension.
And he's like drawing like the outline of a door like on the wall and everything because he's figured out. So they bring somebody in. It's like she slipped between dimensions or whatever, and then he has to go in and like pull her out. And it's so freaky because it's like, where is she? But you can hear her crying for you, but you can't find her. Freaky.
Did anyone see the movie Tron?
No. Yes. I mean, no.
And also, Sharon, the episode you're talking about, I just watched that one today. It's called The Hitchhiker.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a creepy one.
That is.
I think about that one a lot. I think about that one a lot when I think of The Mannequin because I think it's the same actress, right? Like Nancy. I think it was the same actress who's in both of those.
Shoot, you know what? I don't remember.
Quite possibly. Maybe. All I know is she died young.
Oh, that sucks.
And I did not catch a library from Myst in that episode, but then again, I've virtually never played Myst, so.
I didn't realize there was a Myst reference in it. It's been a while since I played that or saw the episode in question, but I'll take your word for it.
I played Myst once on a Best Buy kiosk when it was brand new. If that tells you
Holy
anything.
shit! Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they demoed PC games at Best Buy.
They
wow!
did.
What? Holy shit! What year was this? Mine never did that. I don't think.
I can tell you, if Betty was here right now, she could talk all about Myst.
That'd be cool, actually.
And
I'd
probably
love to
Riven.
discuss this.
And she could definitely talk
And
about Pissed.
Oh, the John Goodman parody.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
She has that around here somewhere.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'd love to talk adventure games with Betty. She probably can run circles around me, but I'd be glad to discuss the LucasArts ones, if nothing else.
Hey, talk Grim Fandango, and she's there.
That's a great game, even if the second act is obtuse and frustrating, but otherwise I like it.
Anyway, back to the zone.
Yes. Sounds good.
Well, Mike, are there any ones you want to bring up particularly that would qualify as your favorites?
Well, my favorite is one that often gets well celebrated whenever it's talked about, but doesn't usually seem to get mentioned in the same breath as, like, I have the beholder to serve man, or the more, immediately identifiable ones. My favorite is the obsolete man, which, even more so than Time Enough at Last, is my favorite appearance by Burgess Meredith in the series.
Distressingly relevant.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is part of the reason why I like it as much as I do. But the fact that it ends on a somewhat hopeful note, at least that's how I interpret it, that, the big machine can be defeated, it's just a bunch of spineless wimps at its core, and once everyone realizes this, they're going to get their asses handed to them. At least that's what I take away from it, but...
the one thing that's cool about this book is it has the intros. Like, it has the intros and outros for every episode.
Nice.
So if you need me to read anything to jog anyone's memory on an episode, I can do that pretty quickly.
I may take
good
you up on
idea. But yeah, for the most part, it is just Burgess Meredith just making Fritz Weaver sweat with his very precise last requests, and it's just really fucking good acting and just really entertaining, and just like it's very Fahrenheit 451-ish, like, very much ringing upon all the other many other dystopian works that would have been written like the past 15 or so years at that point. But it's just really entertaining, and like Eugene said, almost distressingly relevant. But
right. So here I can read. Let me read the last bit. The
please do. Yes.
The lesson you're supposed to learn from this episode. The Chancellor. If my voice doesn't break. The late Chancellor, was only partly correct. He was obsolete, but so was the state, the entity he worshipped. Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete. A case to be filed under M for mankind in the Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, distressingly relevant.
Yes.
Oh boy. But,
well, he's playing a librarian, which is kind of the flip side of playing a bookworm in a previous episode. What's happening to our libraries right now? The Library of Congress. Anyway.
I got books in there.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
Books are good. I like them. Don't get rid of them.
Mm-hmm. Any others you want to mention in particular, Mike?
Well, I would like... Let me think about what would be one that I'd like to mention that I don't think gets brought up as much. Well, no, I think we all know A Stop at Willoughby, but that's another favorite of my mother's. I think we... Oh, what's another?
I don't think a lot of people know about A World of His Own. I was telling somebody about that one recently. It's especially for a writer, I think, is a very entertaining episode.
That one has by and far the funniest ending in the entire series.
Oh, absolutely,
it's adorable. It's adorable, practically. But yeah, that was a really good one. Very
meta.
Yeah, incredibly meta, and just I mean, Keenan Wynn wanted to make his own world. Whether or not that's what we should be striving for, whether he's just being plain delusional, I mean, I don't know. Draw your own conclusions, but he seemed happy enough, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one in a while. I'm probably taking the wrong thing away from that, but yeah. It's a good and whatever the case. My memory's a bit rusty. I mostly just remember the ending.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's romantic story on the Twilight Zone. At the same time, we want you to realize that it was, of course, purely fictional. In real life, such ridiculous nonsense could never... Rod, you shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't say such things as nonsense and ridiculous. Well, that's the way it goes.
Yep, he just promptly vanishes into the ether.
And if anyone here doesn't know the episode in question, it's about a writer who can actually make whatever he records and then put into an envelope with whatever his name on it, or however he does it. I forget. It's been a while since I've seen it too. He can make them appear. So he makes himself a wife. And then he's not happy with her, so he makes himself a mistress. And his wife doesn't find out that she's not real until the very end when he burns her tape. And then when he tries to recreate her, he stops and he makes his mistress as his wife. And then they're very happy, and then Rod appears, and that's when Keenan Wynn says the whole bit, and he pulls out the tape marked Rod Serling and chucks it into the fire.
Yep.
Well, that's the way it goes as he fades away.
Yeah, it is a interesting episode, but also, just a very, I would probably say, fun one, practically, as well. And yeah, some of these are more lighthearted than others, to be sure. One I remember is actually, possibly the most, light, maybe too light for some, arguably, but one that I remember actually being surprisingly positive vibes was, and it was partially based, I believe, on the works of Ray Bradbury, I Sing the Body Electric, if anyone remembers that one.
That was the one with the robot grandma?
Yes, the robot grandmother one. Yeah. And that one really didn't have any, tricks up its sleeve. It was just very honest and just wanted to be nice for once. And, like I said, I think Twilight Zone often gets considered to be sort of like a horror series, and, understandably so, but...
It's like a lot of, it's something similar to horror in that, people get their comeuppance, right? Like bad people have something bad happen to them and usually poetic justice. But that one, yeah, you're right. That one strikes a very different tone, and it's just kind of a sweet story, right? Yeah,
and again, that's not something that's very common for Twilight Zone, but the series is certainly not incapable of being earnest when it wanted to be, as a lot of other programming was at the time. And I would rather take something lighthearted but earnest instead of just face-punchingly cynical without any point, which this show never did, to my recollection.
Also, and I might be mistaken here, but I believe Rush used part of that title for a song on Grace Under Pressure.
Yes, 1001-001 SOS. That's the one.
Mm-hmm. The Body Electric.
Underrated song.
Yep.
At least I think so. That one, Kids Gloves, and not Red Lenses.
Yeah.
Good old Red Lenses. The Soviets are the blues. Anyway, this isn't the Rush podcast, although that's definitely an idea I'd like to put on the table someday. But yes. Any others that I wanted to note?
Yeah, that's the question.
One that I like quite a bit that my mom has pointedly said is not one of her favorites, so I would like to get an opinion on this one. What do y'all think about 5 characters in search of an exit?
That was an interesting one.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of goofy, right? When you think about the basic premise of it, but it's very compelling in the way, and I often think, I thought of it, there's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Captain Picard is transported someplace, and he's just in a room with a bunch of strangers, and they have to figure out how to work together.
Yeah. There's that big hairy guy that wanted to kill and eat everyone. I remember that one.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting, just setup to have like a bunch of strangers like in a setting trying to figure out like who they are and what they're trying to do and how do they get out of there. Yeah, Zombie says Toy Story's granddaddy because they were all toys. Like there was like a
yes,
also
which you don't realize, I guess, until the end, right? You don't realize.
Yeah, I believe that would be the ending twist of that. And I should note that any twists we wanted to mention are all on the table. We're not going to unspoil anything. So if you still want to see the series, sorry, but that's just the way it is. I mean,
everyone knows I'm very anti-spoiler, for many reasons, but the Twilight Zone, obviously, I know the endings of most of the episodes. Remember the endings of most of the episodes, and I still find them every bit as entertaining when I rewatch it, and clearly many other people do too because they watch the marathon from year to year. So sometimes, like people always say, "Oh, well, spoilers don't matter if the story is good." It's like, yes, that's true, but I think that for that first experience, it kind of depends on what you're in it for, But these shows do hold up, even if you know what's coming, even if you've seen it parodied elsewhere, because it's hard to avoid, having seen it referenced elsewhere, before, if you haven't seen it before, like you saw it on The Simpsons. Simpsons did not do it first,
nope.
But you did see it there. You may have seen it there first.
And I guess
definitely,
if people are really concerned about spoilers for how old is the show now?
Let me it started in 59. I'm saying. More than 60 years, if I'm doing my math right.
Yeah, that's like being spoiled by the ending to a book from the Victorian era at this point.
My word, such a bodice-ripping piece of literature. But
also,
anyway.
I wanted to say something to Zombie real quick. Here's your problem. Got this thing set to evil.
Did we even want to do the Frogurt bit, or is that too easy?
It's really easy, but at the same time, we're not doing Simpsons again. We're doing
Twilight exactly. Zone. That too. So there's that to keep in mind. We will Simpsons reference at least once every podcast. It's almost unavoidable, so deal with it. But anyway, the podcasts are also cursed.
That's bad.
But yes. So something I want to mention I didn't want to forget. Another reason why these episodes are entertaining, even if you know what's coming, is that they often have very good actors picked for them. From their time and from all sorts of work that, lots of prominent character actors of the time, and also notably several actors who were relatively smaller then that would become huge later in life, like. For example, I mean, in our graphic alone, there is Robert Redford in the center bottom there, playing a very nice personification of death. I forget the name of that episode, but that's also one of my mom's favorites. That's a really good and sweet
Nothing in the
one.
Dark.
Yes, that's a great one. Everyone go see. It's very surprisingly gentle. It's a very, very good meditation of death. And of course, just to the right of him is Billy S. himself, the Stat Man.
The Shat.
Yes. This was like, I don't know, how many years before Star Trek at this point?
Not too many.
5, right? Maybe
that's
4 or 5.
That was a season 5 episode, I think.
It was, yes. If I'm not, that does sound right.
So that is one of my favorite episodes, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Yes.
And I'm also a Trekkie, which you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, one of the classes I took had we were learning some basic animation, like computer animation. Like some of it was like making animation with BASIC, and then some of it was using this program called Autodesk Animator, where you basically would just kind of do like cell by cell, like frame by frame animation with this program, and then play it out. And I have a recording of this on VHS tape, but I did a Twilight Zone / Star Trek parody of Captain Kirk seeing a gremlin on like one of the Enterprise's nacelles and freaking out about it. And I recreated the Twilight Zone intro for that as well. I think I threw some like Quantum Leap stuff in there too. It's a really weird thing. I have to find that VHS tape and like digitize it.
That would be a great idea. Now, there's something else too regarding that episode. But first, you see, Zombie, this is why you keep books around, especially big, heavy ones. So you can take people like that and smack them over the head with these books.
Exactly. Wah, wah.
Okay. Who here remembers the TV show Third Rock from the Sun?
I do. It's been a very long time since I've seen anything from it, but basic premise
I didn't
was
really
that
watch it, but I'm aware of its existence, and I've seen like bits of it.
All right.
I never liked what I saw of it, but it's been a long time.
Now,
but of course, premises that John Lithgow
hold
and
it
his
before you go any further.
Sure.
Who remembers Twilight Zone, the movie from '83?
I do.
It has been a while since I've seen it, but I recall the brunt of it, yes.
Well, you recall they remade several episodes of the Twilight Zone as segments in the movie.
Yeah, and the Nightmare 20,000 Feet part was probably the best of it, if I'm not mistaken. At least I would say so, from what I remember.
And it starred John Lithgow.
Exactly. He was in Billy S.'s seat, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why I'm intending calling him Billy S tonight. I'm weird. Anyway.
Just call him the Shat.
the Shat, yes, I like that one.
Anyway, as you were about to point out, Lithgow was basically the main character on Third Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out he played an alien who was on Earth along with his team. They were all posing as humans. And their boss man came to visit them, the big giant head. And he gets off the plane, and guess who it is? The Shat.
Shat-tastic.
Yep. And it's funny because they asked him how his flight was, and he's like, it was terrifying. Oh, I was up there. I thought I saw something out of the wing of the plane. And then John Lithgow gets his look on his face. He's like, the same thing happened to me.
That is very cute, I gotta say.
That was a great bit. It's the only thing I remember from that show.
Well, damn. I remember it was quite funny, but also very of its time. On the one hand, it does have a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt before he hit really big in movies. On the other, it has French Stewart, so that's how you know it's from the 90s.
Well, he was pretty good on the UWB character.
Oh, wow. Well, that's cool then. I still need to get around that someday.
And you were saying, Eugene?
I was just saying a lot of sitcoms are bad.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of sitcoms on the whole, no. I mean, my favorite one, I would say, is The Simpsons. It totally counts, shut up. So that's really all I can say about that.
But there was also that one actress on that show, too, who was... I can't think of her name, but she was very much...
Kristen Johnson?
That's her.
She was very tall, yes.
Yes, and the only other thing I ever remember seeing her in was the second Austin Powers movie.
Oh shit, I forgot she was in that.
Yeah, she played Ivana Hump a lot.
I think I remember this now, yes.
And Wayne Knight was in that show too, actually. Along with...
Yeah, he was actually her boyfriend, which is a very amusing contrast, to say the least.
And I think Jane Curtin was in it too.
Yeah, she was. I believe she was more or less John Lithgow's love interest in that one.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Crikey! I lost my mojo! That was that! You're right, you're right.
But just the fact they actually did that Twilight Zone bit, that's just still my favorite bit ever from that show.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Well, we'll get around to touching on the movie some more in a bit, though.
Yes. I'd like to apologize for my terrible crack about the movie. That's unfortunately something that gets brought up a lot with it, but I really do not want to dwell on that otherwise. So
don't.
Yeah.
But we've already moved on, Mike.
Yes. So. That's what we should.
But
as I say,
let's go back after the duck. Back to the 59 series. So, did you think of any other ones you wanted to bring up, or was that all of them?
Any that I wanted to, or that Eugene wanted to, or whichever?
Either of you.
Well, I did want to point out a few other actors of note that showed up. There was one episode, the episode 2, which was primarily mostly quiet and was a Cold War allegory and starred both Charles Bronson and Elizabeth Montgomery.
I remember
Speaking of Bewitched, as it were. That was pretty good ones, I remember. Lee Marvin was actually in an episode about robots boxing in the future called Steel. I remember. I actually do like that one. I don't think it'll be most people's favorites, but I did think it was an interesting premise and kind of depressing about the potential obsolescence of man versus machine. But it actually inspired that like fucking Hugh Jackman movie, Real Steel, wherever the fuck it was called. I know nothing about that one. I just wanted to bring that up for whatever fucking reason. I'm working blue right now for some reason.
Here's another one since you mentioned Bewitched. In The Invaders, I forget her name, but she played Endora on Bewitched. You know, the mother-in-law.
Oh,
what was her name?
Oh, hey, nice.
I want to say Agnes Moorehead, but I'm not sure.
Agnes Moorehead. That's right.
Okay,
yep.
so I was right.
That does sound right. Yes.
For some reason, I never really liked that episode, and I'm not sure why. And I think it might just be because it is more overtly horror, and there's no dialogue in that episode at all,
except for the very end,
which is very interesting.
Didn't it end on at least a positive note, though?
Oh no!
Despite the horror angle.
No.
Oh wait, are we talking about 2 or wait, which?
No, 2.
It's the one where she finds there's like alien, like a tiny, like So there's like a tiny UFO.
Oh, I didn't realize that we were talking about a different. Yeah. Sorry, I actually do not know which one you're talking about. My bad.
The Invaders.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with that one. Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't have a good ending for the aliens.
Oh. Well, shit in that case.
Okay, how about you, Eugene? Any other ones you wanted to bring up?
I'm trying to remember which episode it was where this boy like gets a phone call from his dead grandmother.
That's a good question.
That sounds vaguely familiar. But
I want to say it was like the phone call or something like that, but it's not coming up. But I think that was also like one of the. I wanted to mention there was like 3 episodes of the series where they actually shot them on VHS, or not VHS, but video.
Yeah, and they looked weird.
They look terrible. Like they hardly you can't really upscale them. Like, you can't really clean them up very well. So they look and just like the depth of field is like very different. Like just like it shows. I think more than anything else, like the stark difference between how the show is typically shot and then this other format, and clearly it didn't work, and they stopped doing it, which was great. But one episode that's on your list, I think, that Long Distance Call. Thank you.
Thanks,
was that not also Bill Mumy in that, or no?
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Oh,
okay.
It was okay.
Yeah, thanks, Zombie, for that one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's. I was looking at the book. But it's that one.
Famous one. Fuck. Shit. Oh no! This plane actually did blow up.
Hey, Mike.
I guess she didn't die.
That whole thing you just went off on.
Yeah.
We had a OBS, disconnect, reconnect.
Oh, okay. No. I guess I'm. I guess it's telling me to not spoil things then. But,
or maybe it's just censoring your language.
Or maybe that too. Maybe this is an episode that we're in now, and I hope it's one of the better ones we're in, because I wanted to mention what are any that we thought were like some of the worst or legitimately
Well,
bad,
I do want to mention one that's on your list, Mike, that you listed here, which I actually really enjoy this episode too, and it's unusual for a Twilight Zone episode because it's not actually a Twilight Zone episode, and that is An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
Oh yeah, I was actually surprised to see that was actually covered on the Twilight Zone, because I thought it was just more famous as a story or for some other media. I knew about it outside of the Twilight Zone, if not just because that it is famous/infamous for its ending twist, which some people nowadays would peg as being like the most cliche of cop-outs, but I mean, for its time, it was pretty original, if I'm not mistaken. And
well, if I'm correct, it was not a Twilight Zone episode; it was a short film. That was adapted into a Twilight Zone episode.
Okay,
and I think went a very long period without being broadcast again. So it's one that probably a lot of people missed.
Interesting.
Anyway, sorry about the hiccup there, folks. Don't know what happened. It just was a random disconnect, reconnect.
If that happens for an extended time, feel free to put the cheat up.
Right. So this book has lots of trivia, and so this was a fifth season episode, and it says that the show was over budget. So one of the producers said sometime previously. So this is William Frug. Had seen an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, a French film that had won first prize for short subjects at the 1962 Cannes Film Festival, based on the story by Ambrose Bierce, which is very famous. It told the story. Yeah. So they just was completely silent. So he just bought it. Bought the TV rights for $10,000 and just like saved a ton of money by making it into an episode, which is very creative.
Oh yeah,
and I thought a very interesting episode.
Okay, I want to talk about a few of them myself here.
Yeah,
go for it.
So, well, we've already mentioned Walking Distance, Stop at Willoughby. The Hitchhiker was brought up earlier, but then that brings me to one of my absolute favorites, The Last Flight.
And that's the ones that you put down there.
Mm-hmm. That's the one where this World War I pilot ends up landing at this airfield in France in modern day. Whatever it was at the time, 1959, 1960.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah. And, of course, he has no explanation as to how he got there. He just remembers flying into a cloud. And turns out his old war buddy from the First World War is now some kind of big higher up in the Royal Air Force and is actually coming to visit the base that day. And for whatever reason, this freaks the pilot out. Finally, eventually spills his guts about everything. And that basically the last flight they were on together, he abandoned his friend because he was a coward. Left his friend surrounded by German planes. So that's why he's so freaked out, because he's dead. And it's like, no, he's coming here. So now they've confiscated all his personal stuff, but he's like, I can't stay. And he finally breaks out and gets back to his plane. One of the guys almost stops him, but he's like, I've got a second chance now. If you say he's alive, then maybe I can do something. And he takes off and he flies back into the cloud. Vanishes. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, his friend, now a very distinguished, aged guy who's actually a World War II hero on top of things, shows up. And they're talking to him, and they start asking him about his old friend from World War I. And it's like, so what happened? It's like, oh, it was the strangest thing. I thought he'd abandoned me. He just flew off and disappeared in this cloud, leaving me surrounded by a bunch of Germans. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, here he comes from above, guns blazing, took out 3 of the blighters before they got him. It's like, he was shot down? Yes. Did they ever return his personal belongings? No. Now, what's all this all about? And then they show him the stuff that they got from him, including his ID card. And it's like, this is him? Yeah. And at the end, one of the two guys, because he's demanding an explanation, and he's like, I think you better sit down, old lead bottom. What did you call me? And it turns out it was a private joke between him and his friend. So
that's very nice, actually. I'm not sure if I remember that one, but I am going to have to see that if I don't recall it so hot.
That is one of my absolute favorites.
Man, now that you mention it, because I hadn't really thought of it, but it has some shades of Yesterday's Enterprise, which is one of my favorite Star Trek Next Generation episodes.
Yes, hell yeah.
It's funny. I met Denise Crosby once, and even though I was doing my best not to talk about Star Trek to the different actors there, I had to just bring up that one scene she has in there where she's talking to Picard, and she's like, I'm not supposed to be here, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just really sold me with that bit. She's also a really, really, really nice lady to talk to.
Oh, I'm sure.
That was a really cool episode for Guinan too, where she's like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to be here. You're dead.
Mm-hmm. That is a top fucking 10 episode of TNG. I refuse to hear otherwise.
No, it absolutely is.
Yeah, definitely.
When Star Trek The Next Generation wrapped up, like its final season, at least WPIX 11, which again was my local station that also did the Twilight Zone, they did a marathon of like the, quote, the best Star Trek The Next Generation episodes, and that was in there.
Awesome.
The Inner Light, Best of Both
Awesome.
Worlds, like all the
Yeah.
ones you would probably think of. But yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great episode. That's a great episode, Rob.
Yeah. A couple other ones I really liked. King 9 Will Not Return. And that's like, you don't know what's going on in this episode. There's this crashed B-17 bomber out in the desert, and the captain's out there, and he's basically calling for his guys, and you don't know if he's imagining the whole thing or what. And turns out in the end, apparently he'd missed a flight and it never came back. He was sick. And he's in a institution dealing with survivor's guilt at this point. And the nurse is handling his clothes, and she tips over one of his shoes accidentally, and sand comes out. So I was like,
dang.
Maybe he was there. We don't know. Back There was another good one. Which let me look that one up real quick, because if it's the one I'm thinking of, then let's see, Back There. Yes, it's another time travel one.
Oh,
has the professor from Gilligan's Island on it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like in 1961, he's having a debate about time travel with some of his friends, and when he leaves the club, he suddenly finds himself back in 1865 and tries to prevent the assassination of Lincoln. But of course, that can't be done.
Nope. I imagine it didn't go so hot.
Fixed point in time. I am so sorry.
Alas.
Oh, you're talking about The Howling Man, Brandon.
Yes. That is a huge... That's a definite classic of the series. I think... I remember that being like one of the very first episodes I remember seeing, and it definitely stuck with me, especially...
Good one, Eugene.
Wasn't... Oh, hey! That was Shadowgate, wasn't it?
Also, Zombie, that was going to be one of the next ones I brought up, was 100 Yards Over the Rim.
Oh, hey, go for it.
Yes, that is a great episode. Because it's another time travel episode. You kind of see a theme with me here, don't you?
Yeah, you're a little obsessed with that subject.
I mean, it was also a theme and an obsession for Rod Serling, I guess.
Yeah.
and that. Let's go with that, sure. Why not?
Basically, it's about this wagon train, and they got a sick kid on board who's the son of the guy who's the, basically the leader of the wagon train.
Oh, wait, this is the one with Cliff Robertson, right?
Maybe?
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking at the book right now.
Yeah, young Cliff Robertson, I remember.
And Miranda Jones.
Oh, yeah, Miranda Jones. 100 Yards Over the Rim. So, yeah, and what ends up happening is this guy goes over the rim to look for, either game to hunt or water, because they eat both, and finds a highway. And Neil gets run over by a truck.
Dang.
Long story short, he finds his way to a diner, ends up getting water, and he gets treated for his injury, and he gets penicillin. And he realizes later, after he found an encyclopedia talking about his son, who had grown up and become a doctor specializing in children's diseases. He basically takes the penicillin and heads back towards the rim. And the sheriff and the diner owner, they go after him. And the dude ends up dropping his rifle. But he goes over the rim and he sees the wagon train. And then looks back and the road's gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
But back in 1961, they'd found his rifle, and it looked like it had been there for, at least 100 years or more.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a favorite of mine.
I remember liking that one too, although my memory is a large swirling pit of acid where stuff just randomly bops in and out. So my memory is definitely lost on the finer details. You can probably relate to those better than I can, at least elucidate on them more so. But yeah, I just want to mention if there's at least one episode you remember, like, thinking legitimately sucked. If you can even remember any that would recall,
I can't, actually.
Okay. Eugene, yourself?
You haven't watched all the episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That I've only mostly gone for the choice cuts. I'm not really sure what I could say.
Most of the ones in the 4th season are pretty bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wanted to elucidate upon the 4th season because they obviously didn't get onto any of the marathons, and I was under the impression that almost everybody hated that season because of the elongated format. But Rob actually did convince me to watch a few episodes from the 4th season, and I honestly thought they were pretty good, all things considered.
Some of them are good, but I still feel like they just feel off, right?
Well,
like they just feel like there's too much like wasted, or it's not wasted. I guess it's just that they have too much time to fill.
Well, consider this, if you would. One of my favorites is The 30 Fathom Grave. And that was originally written as a half hour. Serling had to pad it out.
Oh. Huh.
So.
Well, do you think you did good at padding it?
It does drag a little bit here and there.
But to your point, there aren't a lot that are just like flat out like, wow, that was really bad.
Yeah.
It's more of they aren't as good as the other ones that you already know about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
I'm flipping through some of these later because even some of the later season, like the last season, had some that were just bangers that everyone knows.
Exactly.
Let me speed run a couple more before we get up to that season yet. Also wanted to bring up the Odyssey of Flight 33, which
dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
Guess what? Time travel.
Yeah. Although a little less like, they never leave the plane.
No.
But
they find themselves in two distinct time periods. One back during the Mesozoic era or whatever, and then in 1939.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, they still don't get home.
Right.
Yeah, so that was kind of like, but that's it. That's it. We don't know if they ever get home. Still, I like it. There was also will the real Martian please stand up?
A classic. In fact, that was one of the ones that was outright homaged in the Rush song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first line.
Uh-huh. Take it off, you got 3 eyes.
Good point, Zombie. Let's see. What else? Oh,
the Langoliers. Oh, my God. Bronson Pinchot.
Okay.
The flying ball sacks with teeth. That's the one.
Yeah.
All right. One other one I wanted to bring up was the passersby.
Right. I remember you describing that one, and again, I can't remember if I have seen that one, but this seemed like a... Hey, doesn't it involve time travel?
No.
Oh. Oh, shit. Okay.
But it does involve something else.
Oh, what's that?
Death.
Well, that sucks.
And lots of it. In fact, I don't think there's a single person who's alive in that episode.
Ooh, that sounds morbid.
I don't remember what that one is. Let me look it up.
Okay.
Let's see here.
All I know is it has the Romulan commander from the Enterprise incident is the main character.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, it was Joanne Linville. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Oh, the Civil War one.
Yeah, the Civil War one.
Okay.
Yep, they're all heading down to the end of the road.
Yeah.
And just the fact that the last person walking up the road, when she encounters him and she knows him, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" It's like, "I was the last casualty of the Civil War."
Mm-hmm.
It's Honest Abe himself.
Yep.
They're all dead, and so is she.
Dang, man.
And
That's
it
harsh.
was a better appearance of Abraham Lincoln than when he showed up on Star Trek.
What, floating out in space?
But flipping through some of the episodes, I would say I never was particularly keen on A Thing About Machines, which is just the guy who's like all of his technology, the technology of the time, is coming to life and trying to kill him. I don't know. That always felt a little too goopy for me.
Yeah, there was.
This is interesting though, because since I just read that other episode, this is an interesting repetition from Art Serling. I just happened to cross this because so in his finale, in his summary at the end, says, okay, but as perceived by those attending, this is one explanation that has left the premises with the deceased. Look for it filed under M for machines in the Twilight Zone. And that other episode is like, look for it filed under M for man. So well, you can't write that many episodes without repeating yourself once in a while, I guess.
True. And Sharon, the clock one, that's a little broad. You need to give me some more details.
I'm trying to remember the name of the episode. Do you guys remember? Because the one about the desert just reminded me of. There's like this guy. He's a prisoner on a planet, and they like deliver an android woman to him.
This does sound familiar, but I can't remember what it was called.
It is ringing a bell, but I'm having the same thing.
I'm trying to remember I'm looking it up. Oh, Man in the Bottle. Yep. Okay.
I'm also a pretty big fan of Once Upon a Time.
Which was that one?
That's the one that features Buster Keaton.
Oh yeah, that was the one you mentioned.
And I enjoyed it. I appreciated it more after I had actually watched some of the silent films that he appeared in.
Yeah, I really got to catch up on that.
Because it doesn't have a lot of meaning for you, I think, otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
But plus it features Stanley Adams, who everyone mainly knows as Cyrano Jones from The Trouble with Tribbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the Tribble Man himself.
And also, guess what? That episode involves time travel.
You're starting to become predictable, sir.
Aren't I, though?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what thematically my favorite thing would be in throughout the series. Maybe I gravitate more towards the horror ones, but that's still kind of vague. I mean, as far as horror is concerned, fuck, there's one I wanted to bring up specifically, but now it's lost me.
Well, the 30 Fathom Grave qualifies.
Yeah. I think I might have been thinking of The Dummy, which is the other one that had Cliff Robertson, probably the more famous one. Pretty sure he outright inspired the R.L. Stine's Goosebumps series. But yeah, puppets are creepy and all that, and the ending of that one. But yeah, it's a pretty famous one, as I remember. Geez, though.
Another one was He's Alive.
That's one of the fourth season ones that you wanted me to see, and it kind of fucking destroyed me.
Yeah, it's the Dennis Hopper episode.
Yeah, I mean, the acting's fantastic, but
and it's a little too
real. Yeah.
Just a bit.
It made me realize just how basically little things have changed since then. Actually, one of the other season 4 eps that you wanted me to watch, the other fucking time travel one. Now I realize why you wanted me to watch that one.
Late, I think, of Cliffordville?
No. Although that one was good too. Yes, No Time Like a Pass. I mean, that one was less devastating than He's Alive, but there's this one bit where, like, at the boarding house, there's this, like, old fucking right-wing, like, proto-alt-right fart who talks about how great the nation is because of all the wars it's done and all the blood it's spilled. And then the protagonist, Paul, he calls him out for, not realizing what wars really is like. And he actually uses the term armchair warrior against him. And I'm like, oh my god, this is every fucking argument on the internet ever. Nothing has goddamn changed since the 60s. I just kind of had like a moment there. I just kind of doubled over. Just thinking about the vast abyss that is humanity and its refusal to didn't learn anything, but
But hey,
but I'm
as
getting
far as time
real
travel
bad.
is concerned, let's
Yes.
see. He goes back in time to Hiroshima, and then
Yep,
to
and
Berlin,
yep,
and then
and then
tries to change the course of the Lusitania.
As someone had noted, as I saw, he really should have gone back farther than like a few minutes before the Hiroshima bomb hit, because he wasn't really going to do much as he was.
Well, if he had gone back any further, he probably would have been arrested.
Well, you know what? Fair deal. Oh well.
But yes,
So let me see. So some episodes I didn't particularly like. I've never really liked Night of the Jockey.
The Mickey Rooney one.
Mickey Rooney one, where he's like, I guess he wishes he was bigger or something, and then he's just like in a tiny room. Like some of it's because of how goofy it is, like how they like realized it with the realistic effects. But I don't know.
Yeah, that one's kind of goofy. At least they didn't have him in blue superhero outfits singing Jiminy Jillikers, so there is that.
we're shutting down production.
There's $1,000 leaving town tax.
And this is a late one. The spur of the moment. It's this woman who's like being haunted by this image of a woman in black, like on a horse. And I think it ends up that it's like her in the future, like trying to prevent her from like getting married or something like that.
I do not remember that one.
That sounds like the summary.
Yeah. It's like she's haunting her younger self, like she's trying to warn her not to marry this guy. But then the warning is like she gets the wrong message and ends up marrying the wrong guy anyway.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a stupid comic I was reading about. And it is pretty stupid. So, I'll leave it at that.
It's stupider than the Jerry Garcia furry comic.
The one I was thinking
No, not
about
quite.
the prisoner on a planet is, or I thought it was a prisoner. It's called The Lonely, and it was actually first season episodes, like one of the early ones. I just remember him playing chess with this like robot girl.
Huh. Well, that's something you can do with a robot girl, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, I really did like of late, I think, of Cliffordville.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good examination of an arrogant asshole getting his. And also Julie Newmar's a very hot Satan in it. So, yeah, I'm glad you recommended me that one. I liked it.
Glad I could. And also Passage on Lady Anne was another one I liked.
That one I didn't get around to, but I vaguely remember seeing part of it on TV long ago. Unfortunately, my memory is rusty. But yeah, Rob, you seem to be kinder on season 4 than Eugene and most others are. Any thought on that between you two?
There were some good ones. I'm trying to remember them.
Yeah.
I don't remember them that well because I didn't see them. I've only seen them probably like once. So I'm gonna have to go back and revisit some of these. I actually have. I had pulled out a bunch of my old DVDs because I had set up a DVD player on my CRT, and experiencing like rewatching some standard definition programming on like vintage television, and I have my Twilight Zone set out here because I actually rewatched He's Alive recently because it was just like,
oh
yeah,
boy,
it's relevant. Let me see, and it was like, oh yep, that's hitting too close to home.
it devastate you too by the end.
Yeah,
that's why I haven't rewatched that one recently.
Although Dennis Hopper really acts his ass off in that one. I mean, as you'd expect him to, but that's worth the price of admission.
And we're talking about the same guy who went on to play King Koopa.
Jesus fucking Christ! Like, you're right. Wow. It's like, hey, he should know a thing or two about dictators, huh? And he plays the fucking silliest one of them all.
Yeah,
in
that movie.
God, what a movie! So when are we going to have a podcast on video game movies? Never.
I don't know.
Never? Is it never?
Voodoo? Is it voodoo? Voodoo. It just, I don't know. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't.
No,
I don't know.
No, I'm just honking around.
Maybe we need to talk about bad video game movies, Mike.
Maybe we don't have to.
Maybe I want the opportunity to tear apart Street Fighter.
Maybe you do.
Can't believe we wasted $5 going to see that in theaters.
Maybe I'll defend that one because there's been a lot of much worse movies since then, and I think it has some value.
Well, I will say, at least when I went and saw Mortal Kombat, I almost stood up in the theater and cheered when they started playing Zero Signal.
Mhm.
Yep, the MK movie's legit though. I don't think many people are going to film that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like flipping through the fourth season, I'm looking at the passage on the Lady Anne. Like I know for a fact I've seen these episodes, but because I've only seen them once, and it's strange to because there's so many episodes where like you just can practically imagine you can recreate the entire story because you've seen it so many times, like year after year in those marathons, and just certain episodes that you revisit over and over again. And then there's like these episodes that's like I'm reading the description, I'm looking at the picture, I know I saw it, but I don't remember this. Like, I mean, it sounds like it's probably okay. I should probably watch that, but
Well, as you can tell, my tastes seem to lean towards time travel, World War II era stuff, a mix of both, and ghosts.
They all did have a lot of those. That is true. I don't think I have an identifiable theme. I just like how some people don't really get into music and just follow the top 40. Like I, for the most part, I think, and just for the most part, really surface level in what I do like on the Twilight Zone. But I would really like to view the entire series someday. I mean, if I was able to do so for every Star Trek show ever, I should be able to do so for this one someday. So
it's such a it's kind of because you were talking about like not being able to stick with like long form shows. It's such an interesting thing. It's like watching a mini play every week,
Exactly.
every night or whatever. Like we watch an episode, it's like 25 minutes long or whatever. And I don't think you burn out on the characters unless somehow you get tired of Rod Serling.
I never will.
Me either.
Yeah, no, I'm not tired of him, but I have. We haven't talked about this yet, but I've been finally sitting down to actually watch Night Gallery, which is his follow-up anthology series from the 70s. And it is way more horror focused than even the Outer Limits. It's and not even in a way that really makes any sense. They really are for shock value. A lot of these, at least the ones that I've seen so far. But he's in them. He introduces them still, like the shtick of Night Galleries. He's walking through this gallery of paintings, and he will stop and talk about a particular image.
It's playing poker.
so it's very different. But I want to watch it because I like the Twilight Zone so well. But even he couldn't quite recapture the Twilight Zone, right? Like
that's understandable, yeah.
And there's also all sorts of other reasons. I mean, you got like networks, and all that other stuff, and it was later, closer to his death, but yeah. So I'm sitting down and watching that, and it's not like kind of hitting the same vibes, as the Twilight Zone. It's not as thoughtful. It really is just kind of like, yeah, these are horrible people, and something bad happened to them. Sucks for them.
So you say that's less varied and nuanced in what it delivers. Like it's not as focused on being a morality play. It's just more a straight up horror series that doesn't really have the same sort of substance that the Twilight Zone did.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Sharon's asking about 90 Years Without Slumbering, and I looked it up, and Ed Wynn is in this one.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So.
It wasn't he like Keenan Wynn's dad, or like? Yes, he was. Yes, exactly.
Also, Zombie can't wait for us to dump on you balls.
I've never seen a single movie of his. I would probably have to do that if I wanted to research for for a video game movie podcast roundtable. So maybe I should rethink this.
I would
this one,
too.
That's not familiar. So. This is interesting. 90 Years Without Slumbering, Sharon mentioned. Each man measures his time, some with hope, some with joy, some with fear. But Sam Forstman measures his allotted time by a grandfather's clock, a unique mechanism whose pendulum swings between life and death. A very special clock that keeps a special kind of time in the Twilight Zone.
If I've seen that one, it was years ago, and I don't remember it.
Gotcha.
So I pull that one up
again,
myself and check it out.
Again, I'm going to have to view all these someday. At least I would like to. But if we were talking about episodes that weren't very good, there's one actually noted on there that seems to be one of the most generally hated episodes of the series, which is Mr. Dingle the Strong. Funny enough, that one also stars Burgess Meredith, coming off of I think this is actually... Wait, hang on. What do I have in my list here? This was actually between Time Enough at Last and The Obsolete Man, and I believe he was on one other episode too, although I forget which, but this is probably his most partial appearance, where the premise is that he's a loser who suddenly gets endowed with super strength and he uses it to goof off and he disappoints the aliens. And I do not hate that one. I think nominally it's a fun enough ride, but it does feel very daft in the sense that this doesn't really have a lot of substance for a Twilight Zone episode. Like, what's the moral? Like, aliens might, make you cool, but like... That, and like, are you supposed to like not squander the gifts you're getting? I don't know. It's see you later, Harris. Sorry.
Yeah, Harris. Have a good night.
It's just kind of I guess muddled in attempting to teach anything. Like, I mean, if Twilight Zone ever just wants to have fun and not necessarily focus so much on the didactic aspect, I'm pretty sure it can do that. But like. That episode just did not go over very well with the public for whatever reasons. One of the very few I can think of that's noted as a genuine turkey within the series.
For some reason, though, just hearing the description of it again, for some reason, makes me think of the greatest American hero.
Walking around. It's the cheat. But, there is actually a more obscure one that I kind of remember going, what the hell just happened? Does anyone remember the Ring-a-Ding Girl at all?
I've been thinking about that one because I'm trying to remember what it was, but I'm also trying. It's also for some reason, although I don't remember what it's about, have a negative context for it for some reason. I don't think I liked it.
I need to look that one up because it is
390. Let me see.
All right, let me see here.
Okay, I'll just read the intro because I don't remember what this is. Introduction to Bunny Blake, occupation film actress, residence Hollywood, California, or anywhere in the world that cameras happen to be grinding. Bunny Blake is a public figure. What she wears, eats, thinks, says is news, but underneath the glamour, the makeup, the publicity, the build-up, the costuming, is a flesh and blood person, a beautiful girl about to take a long and bizarre journey into the Twilight Zone. This is played by Maggie McNamara. And he's dead? What?
I just kind of remember thinking, what was that exactly? Like it I don't know, it just felt oddly paced. I feel like what it did, like the show had already did earlier and better. Like I just didn't really get what the point of it was. That was at least what I was thinking. Of course, memory hole acid pool and whatnot. I don't remember it so hotly, but I was just wondering, like, 170 or so episodes, there had to be a few genuine duds in there, right?
Oh,
because, as good old Les Claypool said, they can't all be zingers.
Yep.
And Joss X05, welcome to our Twilight Zone cast.
Yes, welcome aboard.
So the ring is, she can see the faces of people she knew back home. Oh, okay. It's starting to come back to me. Yeah, I don't think I liked it.
Okay, good. So I can identify at least one that was kind of a dud, but as noted, it is season 5, and while as we have said that season 5 has some really high all-time episodes in it, being the last season, that sort of seems to lend credence to the likelihood that it was
season 5 has some really recognizable ones. Number 12 looks just like you.
Yes.
That's classic right there, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, 902,000 feet, the masks and so forth, but would you say that also the show was starting to maybe run out of gas around that point? And hey, Prime, welcome.
Hey, Josh. Hey, Scrollboss. Are we buffered?
Yeah, Prime's here. I think we can. Let me check. No, according to this,
we buffered for a second. I think we're good. It was just for a second.
Okay. No, you're fine. Also, Zombie said yes, more Homestar. Dyer, Rob, we haven't had Homestar table yet, have we?
No, we have not.
Oh my God! Why didn't I suggest that earlier? Holy crap!
Because you want to do the Twilight Zone. That's why.
I did, yes. But anyway, well then,
I'm trying to remember if there's this one episode that I saw which was actually from the Twilight Zone or if it was from something else.
Mm.
And it's about this guy who does stuff.
Wow, fantastic description.
Basically, it's this guy is, I don't know, he's trying to, like, he goes to a bar and, like, relives his past, and eventually people are just, like, trying to tell him to leave because this isn't his time anymore or something like that.
You know what? That sounds somewhat familiar, but again, it's not exactly coming to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's like, when he leaves, the party stops and everyone gets all quiet and just watching him go.
Mm.
I'm trying to see if I can find it here.
Well, a question that I always like to ask, which gets people mad at me for some reason because they don't like me asking this.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any episode that you might call overrated?
Mike, I'm now angry at you.
Well, fuck me. Why do I keep doing this? SiceOBobRake.gif.
Overrated.
Yeah, hard to say about overrated, actually.
Yeah, of the big episodes, I can't think of anything. Hey, I think this is only kind of meh. Like they're famous for a reason, and like, geez, I'd feel like a heel to speak out against Rod Serling's crowning achievements. So I don't know. Dumb question. It's all I could think of to fill the void while you're looking for something.
Now, I do remember the episode 22.
Room for one more, dude.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
You remember 22?
Yep. You better believe it.
Look at the backgrounds where the nurse came from.
Yep. Very famous one. An ep that I'd say hasn't aged well. Oh, that is a much more interesting question.
That's also one of those ones that was shot, the way Eugene was describing earlier.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It was one of the few videotape ones. But nonetheless, it's a very famous episode. Mm-hmm. Or at least one that I always identified as being popular. That one's that one's actually a very, very distant prototype to Final Destination, now that I think about it. I only have to mention that because apparently the latest Final Destination film came out like just today or yesterday or whatever. I don't really know much about that series beyond the first, but I digress. Episode that hasn't aged very well. There was this one with George Takei.
Oh.
The Encounter, I believe it was.
Yeah. And Leonard Nimoy, was Leonard Nimoy in that too?
No. Oh, no. Actually, Nimoy was in another episode that had to do with World War II, I think called Equality of Mercy. Unfortunately, I don't remember that one so well. No, The Encounter was one of the later episodes, season 5. It just starred George Takei and Neville Brand, and they were like the only two actors in that one. And it had some not so kind things on the Japanese, as I remember. In fact, it was the only original episode pulled from syndication. I think its content was considered that objectionable for a while. I think it was trying to say something about, American-Japanese relations in the wake of World War II, but I guess the message was considered kind of clunky. I don't know. I remember liking it for what it was worth, but my memory is rusty. Although, apparently, it ends with George yelling bonsai and falling to his death, so, yeah, that's a little... Yeah, as Dale Gribble would say.
Now, here's one I almost completely forgot about. The trade-ins.
Oh, yeah.
That one, I do not know.
You get the younger bodies?
Yep. And they can the elderly couple, they can only afford one new body.
Right.
Ooh, that's an interesting premise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the husband takes it. And his wife is just so sad because her husband's all young again. She's still an old woman. So he says, okay, take it back. We're just going to be old together. That's the way it should be.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's good. Fuck, I'm going to have to track this one down. That sounds very tear-jerking. But in a good way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, again, I would like to give all of these their due someday if I at least possibly can, but, you know, again, my memory span seems to be getting worse as I go on. Like, if it ever peaked at any point, it was long ago, so...
That teenage Alzheimer's of yours kept going, huh?
Yeah, so to speak. Or maybe we just need a second COVID so I can just stay inside and just binge on more Star Trek, like I did last time.
Oh,
Yeah, that's...
how do you feel about bird flu?
Wait, is that going to be a thing now?
Either that or maybe that or measles. I don't know.
Forget I said that. Forget I said that. I'm just gonna like put my ass in my mouth now.
Surprise twist! It was man.
Oh, of course, because it always is. Like every zombies film ever wants to ever fucking tell you. It's tired by now. Just shut up already. Not you, Eugene. I just mean that media in general. Not huge in zombie films, aside from like the really good ones. The very few really big ones. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, here's one. The seventh is made up of phantoms.
Again, I do not know that one from title, but maybe I've seen it.
Well, here's a brief description. 3 National Guardsmen exploring the site of Custer's last stand wind up getting involved in the actual battle.
I see.
Mm-hmm. So, guess what? Time travel.
You and that and you. So it is, so it goes. There's one I want to mention that I don't know the title of, but again, my mom really likes. It's this one where, like, this old man is being ferried off into heaven, and he asks if he can bring his dog, but he comes across a supposed angel telling him, no, you're going to have to leave your dog behind. And he, like, really just wants to bring his dog with him, and he eventually finds out that, no, this is a devil who's trying to get you to go into hell, a false sort of leader or whatever. Then, like, eventually he does come across a genuine angel that tells him, yes, your dog is accepted here too. And it sounded like a pretty nice one, but I don't know what the hell it was called.
Oh, that one does sound familiar. I'm trying to remember what that one was.
Actually, if I just type in Twilight Zone Dog Heaven, no, I don't think that's it. The Hunt? No, I'm pretty sure that one is not it. Dog.
I also can't seem to find the episode I was talking about.
Man, we've got to rewatch them all.
Unfortunately, yeah. With this series that has been as big as it has, a question I want to ask is, do you think that maybe some episodes have maybe ran over certain themes a little too much, and that's why it's harder to tell them apart?
Possibly.
Or is that a very dumb question? I don't know. Well, I feel like I'm kind of stringing up empty on this one, and I'm the one who brought up the fucking idea. I'm so sorry.
Well, look how many time travel episodes I brought up.
That is true, yes, and they all usually distinguish themselves from... Wait, no. No, actually, this episode is The Hunt that I think we're talking about. Yes. That is the one. Yeah, the one with the dog. An old man and a hound dog named Rip offer an evening's treasure in the quest of a raccoon. I forgot that there was an actual like hunting aspect to it, but I guess this is mostly around the end of the episode that this happened. Well, my bad. God, my memory's just kind of really swirling around.
We've kind of run over this series here pretty well. So
yeah, I really don't know what else to say about it.
Here's one more bad one though.
Okay,
it's called You Drive, and it's about a guy who like hits a kid and kills him, and then his car like basically torments him until he like turns himself in to the police.
Okay, that's
the car
that's
torments him.
The car, like his car honks its horn, flashes its lights. When his wife takes it out for a drive, it drives itself to the scene of the accident and then stops.
Oh, boy.
Wait a minute.
He decides to walk to work. The car pursues him, coming within inches of running him down. Realizing he's beaten, Pope gets in the car and lets it drive him to police headquarters.
What's this one called again?
You drive.
Brandon, see you later. Have a good night.
I'll see you, Brandon. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
And I think I actually saw this one. Now that you mention it, it's a shame it's apparently not very good. I didn't remember it at all until you brought it up. So I guess that's why that says volumes about its worth.
And,
so
Prime, in fact, yes, we have brought up The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street,
and it's a goddamn classic. I'm not sure what we can. I'm not sure what we could say about the really big sacrosanct classics like, that one, or To Serve Man, or Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. I mean, we did gloss over those, but, like, they're the cases that's like, what else is there to say? They're just great, hallmarks of human pop culture that, again, as mentioned, have been parodied over and over throughout time. And if there is a Twilight Zone episode worth remarking on, The Simpsons probably made a parody of it. Yes, dang indeed, Prime. That's, oh man. If there's any other ones that anyone in the audience wanted to bring up, I think we'd be glad to talk about whatever we remember from them, but I do admit I think I'm starting to run on fumes. I am a little concerned that we've already reached the end of the road because, again, I brought this idea up, but didn't you want to talk more about the movie, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Well, first of all, let's talk about a movie that seemed like a big-budget version of a Twilight Zone episode.
The Planet of the Apes?
No. Although that would kind of qualify.
I think Rod Serling was actually somewhat involved in Planet of the Apes. He co-wrote the screenplay with Michael Wilson. That's why it actually...
In that case, it would definitely qualify.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I actually finally, for the first time, recently saw the Planet of the Apes like a few weeks ago for my first time ever, which was way overdue. Thought it was great. The infamous ending shot, like, I still knew what the hell was coming, and it still gave me a genuine chill up my spine.
Help! The human is trying to escape.
I was going to say, you can narrow it down to, oh my god, I was wrong, it was worth all along, you finally made a monkey out of me. It's like, that's how I know that. And then I actually see that, I was like, oh motherfucker.
I hate every ape I see from chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
I love you, Dr. Zaius.
Thank you, Dr. Zaius.
That's hilarious because, like, Dr. Zaius in the actual movie is a huge asshole. Like, he is more or less the villain, and he kind of sort of wins in the end, but then apparently Beyond the Planet of the Apes was made to try and follow up on that, and apparently everybody hated that one. I haven't, like I said, I've only ever seen the first one, but this isn't Planet of the Apes cast, so
I think
moving
you're
on.
Crazy.
Second opinion.
You're all so lazy.
Dr. Zaius, and then the guy just break dances.
Yes. Anyway, no, the movie I was actually thinking about was The Final Countdown.
Yeah, you recommended that one to me a while ago, and yes, I can see how it is effectively, do you know if it has any actual Twilight Zone relation, or does it just have that feeling to
I think
it?
it just has a feeling to it. You ever seen that, Eugene?
I've only heard the song.
Oh, no relation to the song.
Yeah, it's got no relation to Europe, I'm afraid. Or Joe Bluth.
It looks like it's on. No, that's not right. Let's see here.
Maybe it's on Tubi.
Oh man, no, I haven't seen that. I have to watch that.
That is one of my all-time favorite movies.
It's definitely worth it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there time travel and or ghosts?
It's
okay.
Time travel in World War II. So it was World War II, right?
Mm-hmm. It was World War II.
Yes.
Yes. This. I forgot Carol Burnett was in an episode.
Oh, she was. Shit.
Cavender is coming.
Cavend. I don't think I remember that one, I'm afraid.
Oh, but yeah, to go ahead and talk about the movie, obviously Twilight Zone had been gone for ages by the time this was thought up. But the whole idea was to remake a couple episodes of the original series as segments, plus include some new stuff in there. And we can't forget it had that infamous opening sequence. With, is it Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks?
That's right. Yeah, no, I do remember that bit.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, I know I've seen it, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the show. So I have not rewatched it much. So I don't recall. I can't remember what all the skits were. Was one of them the kick the can one?
Yes. That was
yes.
That's the one Spielberg did.
Okay, because in my head, I've always conflated it with Amazing Stories for some reason. I thought it was an episode of Amazing Stories.
I think actually Spielberg's involvement with this was what prompted him to do Amazing Stories.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well, there you have it.
But yeah, in the opening, you got these two guys played by Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd, and they're driving through the country, and they're talking about old TV shows and stuff like, and then they come to the Twilight Zone. They start talking about which episodes they found the scariest. And eventually Dan Aykroyd, he goes, "Hey, do you want something really scary?" And he tells Brooks to pull over. And he's like, "Okay, what is it? What's so scary?" And Aykroyd gets this devious grin on his face, turns away from him, turns back, and he looks like some kind of blue werewolf that makes lion noises or something, and basically jumps on Albert Brooks and then pans up from the car. And I believe it was actually Burgess Meredith who narrates it for the most part.
Oh, wow. Holy shit, I forgot he was actually involved in that.
Mm-hmm. But let's see. The first segment was called Time Out, which was a kind of a reworking of Back There.
Right.
Let's see. And then there was the remake Kick the Can.
Mm-hmm.
And then remake of It's a Good Life.
Mm-hmm.
And the remake
in that? They've remade It's a Good Life?
Yes, they did.
They did, and I think thoughts were kind of mixed on it.
The thing I thought was funny was that Nancy Cartwright's in that.
She is, right.
And there's something about her being trapped in cartoon world. And sure enough,
yes.
That's what happened to her. Little did she know she'd be trapped in cartoon world for the rest of her life.
Even today.
As the voice of Bart Simpson.
Yep.
And
also, I remember that Kevin McCarthy, R.J. Fletcher, was in that segment.
He was Uncle Walt.
Yep.
And William Schaller was in it, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dad.
I actually don't think I know who William Schaller is.
Well, you would if you remembered your Star Trek.
Oh, you're probably right.
He was like a guest star on everything back then.
Well, in Trek's case, he played Nils Barris in The Trouble with Tribbles.
Right.
And he played...
Oh, well, there we go. Back to Cyrano Jones. Everything comes back to the Tribble episode, apparently.
Friend Cook. And then he also played on DS9 Varani, who was a Bajoran musician.
That's right.
In the episode Sanctuary.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I definitely remember him now. And yes, Prime, Joe Dante did indeed direct the It's a Good Life part.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see who directed the... Oh no, this is crazy. The part that everyone seemed to like the most was the last one, the Nightmare 2,000 Feet part with John Lithgow. It was directed by George Miller of Mad Max fame.
Yep.
Huh.
That's fucking crazy. Man, can that man do any wrong?
You'd think he'd have done something with a time machine, but...
Well, I said any wrong,
so.
And of course, Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome exists. I'm still not really fond of that one.
That was Mad Max Goes Hollywood.
Mad Max Goes Children story. God damn it.
Well,
it gets so much worse when the kids appear. God damn it.
But let's not forget how the Nightmare segment closes. After John Lithgow's, put on, wrapped up in a straitjacket and put on an ambulance. The driver turns around as Dan Aykroyd. Heard you had a big scare up there, huh? Want to see something really scary?
I forgot it ended that way.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty great. Robin, my memory is shit. I've only ever seen it once. Robin Eugene, what's your overall consensus on the movie?
Like I said, I don't think I liked it. Possibly because of all that framing stuff that I've completely blocked out of my memory. Possibly because I didn't see any point to it. Because it's like you're just retelling, you're mostly retelling episodes that were done better.
Yeah.
Just with like new.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about remakes. Like, when is a remake justified? If it just retells the same story, there's not much point. But if it deviates too much, then you have to ask. It begs the question: why is it even a remake at all? Like, what? How is it that The Thing did so well that nothing else seems to do as well? Just a tangent to consider. Sorry.
Right.
Me, I liked it for what it was. It's definitely not a patch on the 4 episodes of the original series that it remade, but it's still fun to watch from time to time.
I think there was I just remembered. I think there was like a TV movie Twilight Zone at some point where they took like lost episodes or like unproduced episodes of the Twilight Zone and made them into some TV movie. At one point. Let me see if I can dig up the info about this. It just came back to me as like a weird, unless it's something I've hallucinated.
Such a product does not exist, sir. I think you must have dreamed it. Sorry.
On a side note, while Eugene's looking that up, if you remember how Star Trek 4 was actually profitable enough for Paramount to consider doing a new Star Trek series,
yes,
which became Next Generation, same thing happened here. Exactly. Twilight Zone, the movie, turned enough of a profit and stirred enough interest that CBS greenlit the '85 Twilight Zone.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to view the '80s series more. It actually seems relatively.
Yeah, I need to dig that up. I'm just gonna have to sit and actually watch that. Okay, friends, let me blow your mind because this I totally forgot this existed until just now.
All right.
Oh my god.
Twilight Zone, Rod Serling's Lost Classics, I'm looking at Wikipedia, is a 1994 American made-for-television fantasy supernatural horror film consisting of 2 stories by Rod Serling. The film was co-produced by Serling's widow, Carol Serling. Reportedly, she found the 2 pieces in a trunk in the family's garage. The first and shorter segment, entitled The Theater, was expanded and scripted by Richard Matheson from a Serling outline. It starred Gary Cole and Amy Irving. The longer segment, Where the Dead Are, was a complete script Serling penned in 1968. Patrick Bergen and Jack Palance starred. Because it was written 4 years after the end of the original series, this was not originally a Twilight Zone story. The tales have thematic echoes of stories about unnaturally prolonged longevity, such as Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, Edgar Allan Poe's The Facts in the case of M. Valdemar, and H.P. Lovecraft's Cool Air. James Earl Jones hosted and narrated the special. He previously worked with Serling on the 1972 film The Man. I have no idea if this is available anywhere, but I might.
Darn good question.
If I have it, if I have this on tape, because I must have recorded this, I have to look to see if I still have it, because I probably would not have discarded it unless it was available in some other format.
God damn, I have absolutely never heard of this before. We're glad we brought you on for this, Eugene, because I never would have learned this. Incredibly obscure slice of cheesy history. Oh,
you might be better off not having this in your life. But I remember being kind of excited by this when it came out. I mean, it's
ultimately not great. Is what
I think it was probably it was probably fine, right? But I think the draw of it is something written by Rod Serling or at least partially written by Rod Serling. There's some collections of books like written by Rod Serling as well of Twilight Zone episodes, both ones that were actually adapted and then some I think maybe original stories or stories, prose stories based on episodes that he wrote. So they were not previously stories that were adapted into Twilight Zone episodes. These were Twilight Zone episodes that were adapted as stories, and I want to collect some of those at some point. Because that's kind of an interesting thing to see him's point earlier, to see if the story, like how it holds up when it's just a story, right, and not just something that you're seeing on the screen. But yeah, wow, because I remember feeling like this isn't quite like event television, but I feel like they made a big deal of it about this when it 1994. When it came on, it was a CBS thing, and yeah, I totally forgot this was a thing until just now. You've unlocked a memory.
Nice.
Son of a bitch. Well, my mind is officially. Is there a better word than blown? Because that sounds dirty.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can dig it up, Sharon.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I just wanted to jump back earlier. Snarf said the Thing remake captured the essence of paranoia in the original story while also adding some cool special effects and gore. That's sort of a thing I wanted to actually mention, because I did see afterward the original film, the one Howard Hawks did, The Thing from Another Planet, and I just couldn't really get into that one. I thought it just kind of felt kind of, rote and of the era, so...
Didn't have a giant carrot in it.
No, it didn't have a giant carrot in it.
No, you're thinking of Lost in Space.
Yeah, no. The monster just looked like a guy, but his head just kind of looked weird. And
there was definitely a giant carrot on Lost in Space.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I just wanted to bring that up because, I just wonder, if there's some innate, really stupid kid part of me that does sometimes have trouble getting into older media from this era, because, I'm sure there was a lot that was, dime a dozen for its time, all sorts of, 50s horror junk or whatever that is just very disposable. Not that the Thing from Another Planet wasn't necessarily disposable, but it just didn't really sit in my mind as much, and I'm just kind of wondering now what the secret sauce was with the Twilight Zone that sucked me in as much as it did.
Good question.
Before
you go on Prime, I just wanted to say that I doubt it is. I don't think I've ever seen a single Night Gallery episode. And I know the one I'm talking about was definitely in black and white too. So
yeah, I need to see it again too, Snar. But maybe I should make the rest of this year one where I actually go through more movies and shows from the 50s and 60s. I don't know. As entertainment now is just kind of flatly disappointing me in every possible medium, I feel like I should look back to the past more. So.
Virtual caveman,
I'm not going to go full caveman yet, but maybe leave an empty hole in the cave for me somewhere to go sit in. I don't know. I might need it.
Since you mentioned The Thing, there's a video game of The Thing that I kind of want to check out. That
I know about it. It's apparently pretty infamous.
I haven't played it. I want to check it out, but I also
probably knows some things about it, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe.
But I also have not played these yet. But I think I should play them, and I think I should record them. I have some a Twilight Zone VR game that came out, I think, a couple of years ago on the MetaQuest. Yeah, I had to get it because I'm I like the Twilight Zone. I got to see what this is. I don't think it got great reviews because how do you do the Twilight Zone as a VR game?
I was going to say this isn't really a series that lends itself to the medium of video games.
Well, it's weird that there hasn't been some sort of video game attempt, even a text adventure or something, right?
Text adventure, maybe that could work, but
I could see it as an interesting point and click kind of thing, but. Whenever I do play it, I will record it and post it to my channel so everyone can experience the weirdness of it.
Cool.
Oh my God, this actually exists. What the fuck?
There's also a Groundhog Day sequel on VR.
That I actually heard about.
Yeah.
I still can't believe it exists, but that is apparently a thing.
It's kind of like that Twilight show about that zone.
Yes. Oh boy, though. What else can we talk about at this point, though? I almost wanted to bring up other works that you think might, movies or shows or whatever, that feels like they really do owe their existence to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys offline about this one, but you don't have experience with it, but Black Mirror comes up quite a bit.
Right. The show that I said was sci-fi-y and depressing all the time.
Yeah, because it's an anthology show. It's interesting. There's that, and then there's something called Love and Robots. A new season has just come out of that one, And those are very short episodes, and I think that kind of hits the Twilight Zone actually vibe, maybe even better in some episodes than Black Mirror does. They're very short. They're on Netflix.
Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots. Sorry, yes.
Gotcha. I've heard of this.
I was reading about that recently, and apparently it is. I got to look real quick because I saw something about this, and I just like, oh, really? That's interesting. And let's see. Death and Robots.
Well, they're all based on mostly, I believe, like short stories by like science fiction authors, fantasy authors. Like John Scalzi's had a number of his stories adapted. He wrote a couple of episodes for the current season.
Yeah, that was something I forgot to mention. The original Twilight Zone actually did do that a lot with short stories, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Here is what
besides Owl Creek Bridge, there were others that were influenced, but I couldn't tell you which exactly.
Well, a lot of the Richard Matheson ones, I Sing the Body Electric is a Ray Bradbury.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Love, Death, and Robots. It's actually the end result of what was originally supposed to be a reboot of the movie Heavy Metal.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that makes sense.
Speaking of good,
from what little I gather.
Speaking of good anthology movies, Heavy Metal, right there.
Right. I saw that one recently. It sure had a lot of naked, large-titted women in it. Although, ironically, my two favorite segments are the ones that don't have any explicit nudity in them.
The same here.
I don't know what that says about me, but it is what it is.
Well, B-17 is the best, no question.
It's awesome. It's like I wish we could get a longer movie out of that premise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I will admit I am a big fan of Tarna.
Yeah, no, that's I'd say is the third best part. Yeah, that part's cool. Very, very good and horrifying use of E5150 into the Mob Rules. That's my favorite part of the album too.
That's a great bit though. But what's the other part you're talking about? Is that Captain Stern?
Yes. That's darkly hilarious, I think.
Yes, it is.
And that I'm still surprised that Eugene Levy can register that baritone. I don't normally think of his voice like that.
I know, right?
It's pretty impressive. Yeah. But we digress, anyway.
Let's say you have seen Heavy Metal, right, Eugene?
Oh, yeah, but not since I was a kid, probably.
Since you were too young to have seen it.
No, I was the right age to see that movie.
Oh, okay. Well, that's perfect then.
Sweet.
All I know is that B-17 may have jump-started my love of horror-related stuff.
Yeah. And World War II stuff?
Well, yeah, a little bit of that, too.
No time travel, though. Not this time, anyway.
There's a 2-pack action figures out there that has one of the zombies from B-17 and Tarna. I'm dying to get my hands on that.
You guys also just reminded me, there was I think, was it J. Michael Straczynski made a Twilight Zone comic book series?
Son of a bitch, really?
Possible.
I have no idea of that.
They didn't always work for me because they were sort of like, in some ways I think they were telling like a story across like multiple issues, which felt like weird to me. Like I think I wanted something a little bit more like self-contained, and I don't think the vibe quite worked for me. But it just reminded me again that there was like a Twilight Zone comic book, not that long ago.
Oh, there is a couple other things about the Twilight Zone we should mention, like the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Disney.
Huh. Shit, which
I never got to see in person.
I didn't either. I remember going there once much later on and seeing the building way off in the distance, but I never got a chance to go on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also a radio series.
Oh,
wow.
Right. Yes.
Many
of the same scripts, right? But just kind of dramatized.
Except it was
actually, a lot of them are on the DVD set that I have.
Oh, nice. And it says here it was for BBC Radio 4 Extra. And...
well, shit. I can believe that, though.
Twilight Zone may not lend itself to video games, but apparently it lent itself to pinball.
Yes.
That's right. That's a famous Williams table.
I finally got... I had wanted to play it for ages, and they had made a virtual version of it, like a digital pinball table for it, but then it was gone for many years. It came out again last year, And
Nice.
I bought it, so I have it on Switch. I'm terrible at pinball, unfortunately.
I am too. Yes,
But I have it on my channel. I have a playthrough of that, and I also played through some of the Star Trek: The Next Generation pinball table.
Huh. Well,
The Twilight Zone. I don't know if you guys ever, since we were talking about old sitcoms as well. Like I was always a big fan of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and one of my favorite
Nice.
episodes of the Dick Van Dyke Show was a parody of the Twilight Zone with Danny Thomas.
really?
It may look like a walnut, and I think it ends up being that it's Rob Petrie's dream, but he's dreaming about like there's aliens that are like replacing people, and the only way you can tell is that they're missing their thumbs. And there's this iconic scene of him opening the closet door, and his wife comes out on a cascade of walnuts. And it's called like I think the alien says he's from the Twilight Zone because his alien race is the Twilies, so he's from the Twilight Zone. So it's totally tapping into the Twilight Zone, popularity at the time. But that's a great episode. If there's one episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show that you watch, it has to be It May Look Like a Walnut.
Nice. That does sound pretty fun.
Now, I was reading up a little bit on the pinball while you were talking about that. And apparently, that was part of the Williams Super Pin line of wide body games, alongside Star Trek: The Next Generation and Indiana Jones: The Pinball Adventure. I've played all three of them.
Yeah, I need to pick up the Indiana Jones one too. Again, I'm terrible at pinball, but I still like kind of plunking at it.
I'd love to pick up the actual Indiana Jones pinball.
It's like the physical machine?
Yeah, I've wanted one of those for years.
Nice.
The Twilight Zone table, like the digital one, is really impressive. It's I just don't understand like how to score on it, but it has like Rob the Robot on it because he was in an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Yep.
And just got lots of like sound clips and things like that. Like it's fun.
It's hard to say whether or not that one's more famous than the one that Pat Lawler also did based on the Addams Family, but it's very high up there.
Right.
And another interesting factoid about the machine is that apparently, besides the theme song to the TV show, the main background music is an interpretation of the Golden Earring song Twilight Zone.
That's right. I almost forgot about that.
It's 2 a.m.
Very nice. It's 2
All right, don't get us copyright struck.
Yeah, I don't remember the lyrics. No problem. I am seeing on the Wikipedia page various series listed as see also in the Twilight Zone thing, and it does mention Twin Peaks, which makes me wonder if I can get Rob to view Twin Peaks at any point.
Oh my gosh! You must watch
episode.
You must watch Twin Peaks.
Yes. If you don't believe me, Rob, believe Eugene. Trust him more.
You know how long it took me to get to Burn Notice after Sam sent me the whole series?
Yeah, but then you just fell the hell into it, and then Twin Peaks doesn't have as many episodes.
I need to watch more Burn Notice too.
Oh, Burn Notice is great. It took me over a year to actually break open the set and start watching it.
Starting's ever the hardest part in these things. That's true.
But Mike, you do have a point. Once I was pulled into the story, I was in.
Yeah, I say if you're like 3 or 4 episodes into Twin Peaks and it's not catching you, I'll give you your money back. Even though I didn't give you any money, but yeah.
Okay, so I guess you'll give me a quarter every time I say it.
I guess, sure. Well, we'll work out the economy on that later. Anyway,
but yeah, so as far as the zone itself here, I did like the 85 series. Like I said at the top of the stream, I have a bit of a sentimental attachment to that one.
That's fair. I mean, what I want to know is like how well that and the 80s revival of Mission Impossible was received. I don't know why. They both seem to come from a rather similar era of TV construction, but
now, I couldn't tell you about Mission Impossible, but I can tell you that the 85 Twilight Zone ran from 85 to 89.
That did actually, that's the latter half of the decade. That's nothing to sneeze at.
And it was, of course, a lot of contemporary actors at the time. Bruce Willis was in the first episode. Belinda Dillon, Annie Potts, Robert Downey Sr.
Oh, shit. Nice.
Let's see. But now, one of my favorites was an episode called, as I mentioned earlier, it was Portrait in Silver. Or
where Garrick is JFK.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right, I'm gonna buy these DVDs. I'm gonna watch the show.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I have not watched a lot of it.
It's worth it to see Garrick as JFK.
There are a lot of fucking character actors in this series. There's Meg Foster, Terry O'Quinn,
Terry Farrell,
Eric Bogosian.
It sounded like it was very much the 80s version of the Twilight Zone, the way that the 60s Twilight Zone had so many of the actors of that time, although many of them were before. Yeah, and I guess it's probably true of the 80s, before they really became, celebrities.
Wow, one of these episodes has Exene Cervenka from X in it? That's fucking bonkers.
I just remember, again, like, I did attempt to watch some of these episodes a few years back, and it was just like, yeah, this is really kind of hard to watch just because it's such a product of its time. But, somehow not timeless in the way that the 60s show was. I mean, that was a product of its time, too, yet it's like a product that somehow has persisted, and, it's fine. And there's just something about the way stuff was shot in the 80s, and I don't know.
Rob sounds like he's selling it as something that deserves a second look if you passed over it. And I am interested now, too, so... Holy shit, a young Robert Duncan McNeil was on one of these, too.
And so was George Wendt and Jeffrey Tambor.
Son of a bitch.
And
Adrian Barbeau, Piper Laurie, Emmett Walsh? What the fuck? Morgan Freeman at some point? This is bonkers. Everybody was on this.
Richard Mulligan.
Louise Fletcher
Holy
was in this?
shit.
Oh.
This is... Wow.
Cliff DeYoung.
What?
Yes.
From Shock Treatment? I had to mention that, didn't I? But
he was on Deep Space Nine as well, was he not?
Yeah, from Shock Treatment.
Yeah. Was that the episode title?
No. It was,
No, it was a different.
That was the infamous, kinda not really sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm-hmm. He was also in Flight of the Navigator.
Nice.
Yep, and he was in the 1983 Independence Day.
Wait, what? That was a film?
I've never seen it, and I know it's not the same as the one that blew up national landmarks in 96 or whenever it was.
This is this sounds way different from the Roland Emmerich film, to say the least.
Who else is in this? Let's see.
Everybody! Like, holy shit!
Harry Morgan.
Elliot Gould.
Harry Morgan.
Kenneth Mars.
Yeah.
Henry Gibson. Garrett Grant. Like, I know all these guys. What the shit?
Oh, let's see.
This is nuts. Oh my god. I feel like I broke open a box full of silver and gold here. What the fuck?
They did remake a few episodes from the original series.
Oh, straight up, eh? There's a remake of Shadowplay in there. That's one we didn't mention before, and it's not one I remember very well, but it's apparently quite liked.
And a game of pool.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot Jack Klugman was in multiple episodes. Quincy.
Did Dean Stockwell ever appear in an episode of the original?
He was in Equality of Mercy. I was just looking at that. The same one with Leonard Nimoy.
Yep, and he also shows up on the 85 series too.
Oh.
Well, fuck, nice.
Yeah, let's see. But there is one episode in particular that just really was like a hammer to the chest.
Oh, what's that now?
This one episode in particular, I remember watching it for the first time, and it was just like, oh man, that really hit you hard. I'm just trying to find it here. Yeah, 1 second.
Meanwhile, what other... Oh, you know what? Dean Stockwell's actually in an episode of the 85 series, too. It was one of the last ones. Room 2426. You just... Yeah, fuck. Wow, my brain! It's getting late, and I'm forgetting everything.
Okay,
God
there's
damn it.
Profile in Silver. That is... how can I not remember the name of this episode? It was... Oh, wait.
Bud Court... William Sanderson...
Her Pilgrim Soul was the name of the episode.
Oh... Right, you recommended that I view that one. I saw part of it, but I didn't get to the end yet.
Yeah, Gary Cole's in it.
That's right. A very early pre-Lumbergh role.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-Birdman role.
But when you find out what the deal is with this, it is just like, damn.
Shit, well, I'm going to have to finish it then.
And they actually paired that up with an episode called Eye of Newton, which starred both Sherman Hemsley and Ron Glass.
That's fucking bonkers. Like, man, this is a real who's who of, like, every goddamn fucking working actor back in the day. I'm swearing way too much. My God.
You were working blue tonight, Mike.
Yeah, there's no reason for me to as well. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Hey, they even adapted a short story by Arthur C. Clarke.
Nice. Very nice.
And actually, after Eye of Newton, the next episode was a remake of Night of the Meek.
Oh, wow.
Well, if and when I... Oh, what?
Starring Richard Mulligan and William Atherton.
Oh, holy shit, the dickless man himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
They caused an explosion. Is this true? Yes, it's true.
Yes, it's true.
This man has no dick.
Well, it seems like I'm going to have to get around to the 80s series if and when I ever finish the original series. That much is apparent to me. Now, I remember before we got to this podcast, Eugene was saying that he also saw a bit of the Forrest Whitaker series, and it is not good.
Yeah,
again, that was the one where they shot for shot, like, well, maybe not shot for shot, but they like remade Eye of the Beholder for some reason, just with like modern, actors and color.
That's
and
dumb. Why would you do that with a classic without really adding?
Because I don't remember any episode that isn't related to one of the original series episodes. So that's because I know they did original stories that were but they were completely just not memorable.
I see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I wouldn't necessarily spend my time revisiting that. The on the upside, there's not that many episodes because it was canceled pretty quickly. So
I remember hearing about it, and I was interested in seeing it. Problem is that at that time I was working all the time, so that's how I missed out on most of the last half of Voyager the first time around.
Gotcha.
Well, that was the half to miss.
No, it got good after they left Kazon space.
Is Eugene not a Voyager fan? Uh-oh.
I don't remember.
Not really. But I want to revisit it. I want to rewatch it. I think it just wasn't the Star Trek I wanted at the time.
Let me just ask you this. Do you at least think it is better than Enterprise?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then you're free. You're good, man.
Unquestionably.
See,
Vaya con Dios, you're good.
It's one of those things that has the whole, it's like, Next Generation had growing the beard, and DS9 had getting the Klingon. This had bringing aboard the Borg.
Yep. And, of course, ditching the Kazon. We will admit, except for a few choice episodes, the first two seasons are kind of a slog.
Pretty sure we covered all this, though.
Yeah, those were like the Timu Klingons, right?
Yeah, stupid rockheads.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
they had some cool villains on that though. I remember the Phage. What do they call those?
The Phagians.
Phagians, yeah. I mean, stupid name, but it was a cool. They had some cool ideas on that show.
Mm-hmm. I like the episode where Michael McKean played an evil clown in cyberspace. It sounds ridiculous, but it actually works.
I like the.
I don't remember that one.
I like the Lower Decks episode where you want more clowns.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
That whole episode in particular was just a huge love letter to Voyager.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. So the Forrest Whitaker series apparently not great. What about the other one that
they apparently got 43 episodes out of the Whittaker one. That's more than I would have thought.
That's 2 seasons, I guess.
It was all one season, though, apparently. So I don't know how that works. It is what it is. Meh.
Numbers are going down.
Or did they do 2 half-hour ones for each episode? I'm trying to remember what they did with that. It might have been an hour slot with like 2 half-hour stories in it or something like that.
I'm not sure. Anyway, sorry, I cut you guys off for you were going to mention the last one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
one by Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele, yeah. I still haven't even finished watching it, so that's kind of like I was trying to watch it, and it again, some of the episodes were good, but there were a lot that just didn't click for me. You know, I think that it might have been trying too hard in some ways, but I think it just didn't quite capture. Like it felt very. It felt like, I guess it felt more like the old series, but it just didn't quite work. Like I'm so like conflicted over really how to describe it. Like they had some, like they had one interesting episode that was about like an actual child's elected president. You know. And, yeah, you know, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, like things like that, like, so some interesting ideas, but I just never started. But I still want to watch it though, so I just haven't gotten around to it. So it's kind of a weird thing, which is like, oh, I'm not going to watch it. It's more like, yeah, for whatever reason, I just haven't finished it, you know. So,
I gotcha.
Mike, are you thinking what I'm thinking though?
The same thing we think every night. Take over the world. Noff.
No, when you said it was about a kid who becomes president.
Yeah.
Why is Admiral Baby ordering the entire fleet to Candy Island?
Fuck, I forgot about that bit.
Although, you know, possibly more relevant to that, there is a comic series that came out. And it ran for, thank God, a very short time. And it was called, let's see, I'm trying to find it. There we go. It was Prez, First Teen President by DC.
Oh yeah, Prez Rickard or whatever his name was. This sounds familiar.
Yep.
I forget why, but it did happen.
Let's see. Issue number 4 featured a vampire in the White House. And
oh yeah, it was referenced in The Sandman. That's how I know it.
Prez Rickard. Okay. Yep. And he had a Native American named Eagle Free as chief of the FBI. Who is a completely and total stereotype.
Ooh.
Well, what do you expect?
So
the 60s.
He's not cool like Lieutenant Hawk from Twin Peaks was.
Right.
Gotcha. I'll take my word. Hawk's the man.
I will take that word and run with it. Because I may just start watching that next.
Dude, Eugene and I would really love it if he did that. I'm sure. I can't speak for him, but I'm sure he would approve.
I did find an account of Transylvania in this ancient volume from the Library of Congress. It seems, gentlemen, that our enemy is a land of vampires. Vampires? That is correct, Mr. President. The living dead.
Our parents are turning into reverse vampires.
No, see, it's a reverse vampire. He craves the sunlight. Oh, boy.
Oh, Wazzy. Well, what the hell else do we talk about? It's 5 minutes to midnight on my end, so I don't know what.
Well, let's see. Since it's getting down to that, we could always go ahead and Twin Peaks is worth the time, eh?
It is, yes. It really is. We assure you.
That's 3 glowing recommendations here, so.
Wait, 3 Eugene, me, and who?
Looks like it was...
Oh, Prime said that. Prime just said that. Okay.
Sorry, he's coming through his dark blue here, so I can't really read the name half the time.
Hey, no worries, no worries.
But
I still have to watch the sequel series or the Twilight Twin Peaks: The Return.
I really enjoyed it, but it is a lot more mired stylistically in David Lynch's latter films, particularly Mulholland Drive and maybe even at some points the infamous Inland Empire. I really liked it though, but it's I think it was maybe a bit more mixed among the hardcore fan base, whether or not it turned out the way that it should have or not. I don't want to scramble your opinion. I do think it is very much worth watching. However, it is also a lot more R-rated, for better or worse.
Brilliant. I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Yes, he can do the thing. He did the thing, so yeah.
Don't eat the clues. This suit burns good.
And Prime Roll-Up Return, so a caveat though.
Okay.
Eugene, actually, since this is now apparently a Twin Peaks cast, what's your opinion on the movie Fire Walk with Me?
It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually probably my second least favorite film that Lynch did. Without Mark Frost's guidance, I think he kind of got a little carried away. And,
yeah, it's very. I don't want to say necessarily incoherent, but
no, that's not bad. That's I'd say scattered. Like
indulgent. It's indulgent.
Indulgent. That's a good way of put. Yes, I like that.
I've only ever seen one thing that Lynch did.
What's that?
Dune.
Ah,
You did? That's right. I do actually like his take on Dune. It's a crazy film. It has a few things that deviate from the book, like cat milking, but I like it. It's very of its time, but it's
got Patrick Stewart.
Swung for the fences. Yes, it did have Patrick Stewart as Gurney Halleck, who was apparently described as a very ugly man in the books, but then he was played by Patrick Stewart, and then the recent film he was played by Josh Brolin, so I guess that was more or less thrown out. It is what it is.
And yes, Sting in a Speedo.
Yeah, there was Sting in a Speedo. The Poopsmith dressed up as Sting's Fade Ralpha once, and I think Strong Bad. What did he say exactly? Shit, when was this? Do I have the? No, unfortunately, the Homestar Wiki's been like down for a while now, so I don't have it immediately. But
so in that case,
he commented on the Poopsmith's COD piece, so there was that.
So,
but yes,
who's Judy and what about her?
That's the thing. We don't really fucking know. It's a rather infamous bit from the movie where David Bowie shows up and says cryptic shit for a minute, then disappears forever. That actually happens.
Is this like that whole Jim Morrison thing in Wayne's World 2?
I don't remember that bit. Maybe? I don't know what it is exactly.
Well...
Oops. What the hell? Sorry, that's my phone. We're not going to talk about Judy.
Wayne keeps having a dream where he runs into Jim Morrison in the desert. He tells him what to do. And he's, brought by this Native American guide to him. And eventually he managed to get Garth into the dream with him. And then at one point, Morrison's talking to Sammy Davis Jr.
I vaguely remember this. I just wanted to say, though, all this to say is that if you do end up liking Twin Peaks, and you do actually end up viewing it all the way to its rather infamous ending at the end of Season 2, I mean... Well, there is a caveat here and there. Some people say that the second season, which is much longer than the first season, gets kind of stupid after a certain massive revelation that happens. Mm-hmm. I won't lie, the quality does get wonkier, but I still liked most of what happened in the latter part of the second season nonetheless. So that's just a heads up in case you wanted to get around to the series in toto. But if you do finish it and ended up liking it, I'm going to give a soft recommend to the movie with an asterisk that even if you like the series, Fire Walk with Me is kind of a hard watch. But it is kind of oddly integral to The Return, so you will probably have to watch that before you watch The Return if you get around to it. I don't know. I'm making this sound like homework. Forget it. Just watch the pilot first. If you like that, like, watch the next few episodes after that, and then, let us know what you think. I don't know why this became the Twin Peaks cast. I'm sorry. Obviously,
Burns
his suit. I guess I'm out of Twilight Zone fuel for now. I thought I did kind of poorly with this one, but it was my idea, so I take full blame.
Well, I think it was still an interesting discussion, regardless.
Yeah,
I still had fun, and I'm really glad we could get Eugene on board.
I'm glad I was here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad I learned about that lost episode thingy, though. That's freaking crazy. I never knew about that ever.
And
Just send you guys a link to the video on YouTube.
Cool.
In the chat and the
Gotcha.
Discord.
Also, just so you know, Eugene, I was this close to not going to GWN's stream that night.
Oh man.
I was debating about going to bed.
Oh man. Yeah, I would have. I probably would have seen you streaming tonight, and I would have hopped in, and then I would have been probably just chatting up a storm like everyone else has been doing. But
very nice.
Glad I could be here, live.
Yes. And,
vocal.
Hope everyone liked the fact that I did the entire stream background up in black and white just to match the theme of the show.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am hoping that everyone here did have fun. I don't know why I'm so down on myself right now, but
because you haven't watched enough Twilight Zone today, so you need to go and watch some Twilight Zone before bed, and it will lift your spirits. If you watch the right episode, you might watch a depressing one, and then
you'll never know if you get a body electric or he's alive as far as feeling like warm or like dog shit at the end is concerned. It's a roulette wheel like that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Watch all the time travel episodes I recommended.
Oh, those were great. Yeah.
And all the World War II ones.
Some of them which intersect.
Okay, sounds good.
So.
And don't watch Ring-a-Ding Girl, I guess. Maybe.
Definitely watch The Last Flight.
Okay, yeah, I will have to get around to that one. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You will watch The Last Flight.
I will watch The Last Flight. Yes. Nod suggestively.
Anyway, so all right, a little bit on what we got planned next. In a couple weeks, we will likely be doing a general horror game stream.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect
one where. Go ahead.
I say, don't expect to hear any major talk about Castlevania, Splatterhouse, or the Ghouls and Ghosts series, because we've already covered those individually in depth, especially Splatterhouse. So,
I think there's a Kickstarter for a documentary on the history of horror in video games live right now, maybe. So I'm going to check that out.
And no one ever consulted me about Splatterhouse.
Maybe there's still time.
Maybe. I can find out. But we'll probably talk about...
They might just be stealing stuff from your website uncredited, which is in a way a kind of fame.
I'll report them to Namco because I got it from them. But I will say that you can probably expect to hear stuff about smaller horror titles or maybe some franchise stuff like, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or maybe even FMV junk like Night Trap. Who knows?
Is it horror games or horrible games?
It's supposed to be horror, but
okay,
there could be some horrible in there too.
Oh, there's probably a lot of intersection between them. Like, like every Silent Hill after the fourth one.
Well, we're gonna have another special guest on that night too. Some of you should be pretty familiar with him. He is the artist known as Rusty Shackles.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
So he actually did the cover of the retro horror books.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, so the one that if it wasn't for me, those books probably wouldn't exist, because I was the one that spun the idea to Kurt originally. So...
Nice.
And I had a lot to do with the first one, but I had nothing to do with the second one because I had nothing to add. Yeah, Prime Rusty. And you know how he is about horror.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be interesting. And then we'll have another stream a couple weeks after that. But then at the end of June, we are going to have probably an actual video game roundtable. And it's going to be a big one. Not one I'm necessarily overly thrilled with the subject matter, but I can find enough good to talk about.
Yeah.
You're good at selling it.
Hey, we've done console themed roundtables before. You know, we did the NES. In fact, Eugene, you were there for that one.
Mm-hmm.
We've done the Sega Genesis. We've done the TurboGrafx. Well, it's finally time for us to tackle the Super NES.
Yeah, okay. You're never favorite, which you're always very quick to bring up.
Yeah, it's like number 8.
Yeah,
but
still in my top 5.
Well,
I'm being a jerk already.
Good, more for you.
So if you had to choose between me streaming Super NES games this summer or N64 games this summer, which would you prefer?
Super NES.
Okay.
The N64 doesn't even make my list.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's around when gaming kind of got weird for him.
I'll give you my top 5 favorite games for the N64. Okay. There's F-Zero X. There's Mischief Makers. There's F-Zero X. F-Zero X. And did I mention F-Zero X?
Ouch.
Shake.
Mischief Makers is great though. And to be serious for a moment, what I played as Sin and Punishment is really good.
Yeah, that game's awesome. I think we could maybe get I think we can maybe find 2 more actual games for you to enjoy on that at some point.
Well,
just gotta dig a bit.
Blast Corps wasn't bad.
That's my favorite Rare game ever. There are a few asterisks to that one, but for the most part, I do really like it.
Mine's Wizards and Warriors. So, but as far as any other N64 games, I don't know.
What about? Isn't there an Indiana Jones game on there?
Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, which I
that
barely
wasn't exclusive
played.
to the N64.
It was a Blockbuster exclusive. It was a PC game too.
Oh yeah. Right.
I have played so little of it, I couldn't tell you whether I like it or not.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Simply because it's so damn hard to find, and every time I've tried to get a ROM working for it, something glitches out.
Well, yeah, N64 emulation has been dicey for a while. Apparently, it's gotten up to a relatively decent place recently, but you probably has to ask Snarb about that one if he's still around, if he knows anything about how that works out.
And I will say I did finish the first N64 Castlevania, but I'm not what you'd call a fan.
I enjoyed it more than I expected to. I just got like a bad ending in it, but
I didn't. So Charles became a vampire. Yeah, that's a bad kid. I really like Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness. I recognize they are very flawed, but N64 emulation we were talking about. Like, what's the ideal way for that to go about? Because I want to see if we can get Rob to play like a few more N64 games so he could get a legitimate top 5 that isn't just mostly F-Zero X.
And Prime, I'm going to ask you more about Phenomena when we're done here, because I'm curious. I don't think I've ever actually heard of this movie. Or that it's related to a game.
That one stars Jennifer Connelly, right? It pretty much is the inspiration dead up straight for Clock Tower.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Actually,
yes.
Hold on, let me see.
Yes, that's the one. At least I think so. At least I hope so. I'm not gonna be.
I thought it was. I thought that was Creepers.
Wait, Creepers? You say? Do I know Creepers all that well? It sounds familiar. Oh. Well, sorry, I kind of blew the beans there. I'll do that. I'll just give myself for that one.
Quack indeed.
Yes. Quacktastic.
Well, you wouldn't have spoiled anything for me, Prime, because I haven't never heard of it.
I will say, though, that Phenomena made somewhat frequent use, for some reason, of Flash of the Blade by Iron Maiden. I don't know why I played that more than once, but it's a great song, so, I'm not going to complain.
Did that have the Scissor Man in it?
It does have I guess that would be kind of a spoiler. It does have a character that I think inspired the Scissor Man, yes.
Well, let's see. I mean, it could always be Clock Tower, Bring the Pain.
Bring the... What is Bring the Pain?
Do you remember back when we were making up all these terrible game ideas that were along the lines of that 3DFX Splatterhouse?
Vaguely. Somewhat.
Yeah, Rodrigo came up with Clock Tower, Bring the Pain, where Scissor Man comes to the States and basically has to deal with this gangster rapper, I think. And it's just, you'd have to go reread the stuff. It's funny.
Was that a riff on Leprechaun Back in the Hood?
I think so.
Well, then shit. That okay, that's legit.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway. But yeah, we got all that planned. That's all coming up. And who knows, if you can actually find a legitimate top 5 for me, then maybe we will do an N64 stream at some point. Hear that, Sharon? Maybe we'll do an N64 stream. If we do, I hope you're happy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I did not know that.
Wasn't it a Wu-Tang song originally? I don't remember. Crap. No, I'm probably confusing it. My bad.
Well, anyway, since it is after midnight now, we're going to wrap things up here. And as always, my books are still on sale if you don't have them yet.
Buy my book.
Speaking of books that were written, though, Eugene has a new one out.
Oh,
That's
nice.
true. I do. It's called Gamers Attempting Connection, and it's about a group of middle schoolers who started an esports club at their school, a team at their school.
Oh, nice.
And there's lots of retro gaming references in it, including I made a we had pages to fill at the back, so I made a fake strategy guide for one of the games that they play in the book, and the strategy guide is written by Justin Bailey. So someone might recognize that reference.
Oh, dude, that's not really neat. Nice.
You have to get back to me on that, Eugene, after the.
Oh yeah, I still have to send you a copy. And actually, I meant to tell you. I'll tell you. I'll send you a copy of my other book too, Stream Team, because actually you're sort of in it. Because I needed usernames for a chat, and so there's a character in there called Dire15.
Nice.
So only loosely based, but I needed usernames. So
yeah, do they know all about that crazy horror game Slaughterhouse? Well,
and what about good old gas and Gorblins? That's terrible.
Oh man.
Well, why not that space shooter Gladius?
Well, I actually had one of the characters in the book is a former world record holder in an arcade game, and they are a world record holder in a shoot 'em up game. And originally, I think the name of it was going to be something like I had something that was a joke on Parodius, but it was something like that. But I ended up making the game called Vorpal Blade, which sounds like it could be like an actual game. That's the point. Like it should sound like it's a real game.
Nice.
But
like a real fake real game, like in Retro Game Challenge or UFO 50.
Kind of, like they compete in a very Smash Brothers like game, but I didn't want to use Smash Brothers. So the game series that they're competing in is the latest installment in the series called Time Bashers. Nice. And so all of the characters in the game are characters from different time periods, from the future, from the past. There's like a caveman,
Eternal Champions,
stuff like that. Right.
I wish.
Anyway,
actually,
I had fun making up games for that.
If you're looking for another Genesis game to play in your Genesis streams, you wouldn't do too bad to play Eternal Champions.
Okay, I'll write that down.
But you gotta play Target Earth first.
Yeah, Target Earth is definitely good. They're both incredibly tough games, but I like them quite a bit.
It looks like Earthworm Jim is very slightly in the lead for the next stream.
Damn it! I wanted Kinsaden.
Satan is very low rated right now. People do not want to see that for some reason. They probably just don't know what it is.
Well, you should play it anyway. Just say, you're gonna find out what it is.
I probably will do that at some point.
We'll talk about that more later. Anyway, so to kind of bring us full circle back to the beginning of this stream, I'd like to close with a little bit of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up lost in an empty town, wondering why no one else is around. Look up to see a giant boy. You've just become his brand new toy. No escape, no place to hide. Here where time and space collide. You have entered the Twilight Zone. Beyond this world, strange things are known. Use the key, unlock the door. See what your fate might have in store. Come explore your dream's creation. Enter this world of imagination. And that was from the song The Twilight Zone by Rush from the 1976 album 2112.
Yep. Go listen to the album if you haven't. It's a good one, even aside from the main reason you want to go there. I think most of the other tracks are worth it. Passage Bangkok may be a little iffy, but, again, maybe we'll do a Rush stream sometime. At least I would like to. I'm sure Rob would like to as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But until then, we are going to sign off. So thanks as always, Mike, and thanks, Eugene, for coming back for another one.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. All right, folks. So everybody have a good night and all the fun.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yep.